go do this. But yeah, I mean, I'm not watching the Super Bowl right now, and
Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm not watching it. I have no interest in the advertisements. I popped in the other room and I saw that my
Some
folks
of the
were
ads are
watching
going to
it.
be so creative.
The ads are they're
Do
idolatrous
people watch
to a certain
halftime
group.
ads? Is that a real thing in America?
Oh yeah, like the Super Bowl is the primo place to go for advertisement watching because that's where everyone spends all their budget because that's the most expensive time to put an advertisement in, either for
No, but
local
like,
TV or nationally.
but I thought it was like a pop culture meme that like
No, people do it.
consciously sit there and watch the ads.
No, people do it. A lot of people I know will say like, "I'll watch Super Bowl for the commercials" or things like that. It's not a meme. I know
Oh my
people
God.
like regular normies who are like that. And it's just like that's the peak atomization of America, where it's just a nation of consumer identities, and it breaks my heart every time because it's just like, really, this is what we're doing, where the latest slop gets brought out for people to talk about. And I think it was like 2 years ago now, because that video is getting pretty old of mine, where I was talking about woke capital, and like 2 years ago or so, Little Caesars did this advertisement for the Super Bowl, and theirs was like, well, we're not Big Pizza, we're Little Caesars. Like it had this like Occupy Wall Street vibe to it, where
But
like
they are Big Pizza.
They
Like,
are
what
Big Pizza. They make
about?
billions of dollars a year. And I pointed that out in the video. People can go see it if they want to. But it was just like, it's the same bit where every latest psyop and progressive, meme gets deployed is at the Super Bowl.
It was like that Pepsi commercial. What was it, Kylie Jenner?
Yeah.
Where it was like it was like
if you give the
BLM
cops
protest.
a Pepsi, they'll stop kneeling on black people's necks.
Yeah, and they'll start, they'll kneel, but like they'll kneel in protest of.
They'll prostrate before the rioting crowd.
Yeah, this is why every police department in America should be replaced with should be headed by someone like Vic Mackey. You get the strike team in there.
I mean, this is why unabashedly, I'm pro like automatons from RoboCop. Just blast
Judge Dredd.
Yeah, even better.
Even better.
Even better.
But what number of episodes is this? 31?
This is episode 31.
Whoa!
And as you can tell by us talking, we are premiering. We're pre-recorded, as you guys know from my community post. I'm currently at an iconography workshop, so while I'm writing an icon, we are pre-recording this on Super Bowl Sunday, the 12th. So while this is premiering, sneed your super chats in the premiere, give the super thanks, send us some stuff to his PayPal, because your boy Gio deserves it.
Thank you. Exactly. And hopefully the ad revenue comes in as well. And we'll try to keep it PC. But the super I remember this was years ago.
The Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl, I think it wasn't, because he still was living in California. You think he still might. Where like Mark Dice. Oh, what's the one big stadium in LA? I think it was, I forget, but Mark Dice was like around, because you know how like they have the tailgate parties? Like he was like going around the parking lot, like just with a bullhorn. And he's like, the Super Bowl, you people are mental slaves. And it's like really like OG, like 2010s conspiracy activism was the best. Like I remember 2012 was the big year for like Bilderberg. It was like at a castle, and AJ went there. And like with a bunch of activists like Luke Rudowski and all that. Like it was great. Like it was.
So was he just walking around the Staples Center calling people sheeple?
Yeah, exactly. The Staples Center, that's what it is. Yeah. It was the one where they had WrestleMania there, like before the Malady.
All right.
Oh man, did you ever watch? I couldn't even watch it. It was like one match I watched was the during the global Chinese delicacy, that WrestleMania with no audience. That was terrible. It was just in the Performance Center. It was like,
it would be like doing one of those silent performative art galleries where no one's allowed to like touch or interact. It's just someone just standing there in an empty room, and you're like, well, what the hell am I supposed to do with this?
That's true. But then they had enough money later on to like have screens where if you had like WWE Live, you could like put on your webcam. But they had enough money to like pay people to like censor them in the back in case like someone was doing something inappropriate on their webcam. Because like there was a bunch of trolls. Like one guy, I think they zoomed in and he had a certain mid-century German flag in the background, and or like hockey, they just like pumped in audience. Like that time was so weird for sports because like UFC, you could get away with it because everyone watched. You know how you could get away with it? Because the audience was primed for it because of the Ultimate Fighter, to where, you know, you had like exhibition matches. Fights. I'm sorry. I'm a wrestling fan. Sorry. Fights. Apparently UFC the other day was pretty wild. The Australian guy, did he win or no? He did. I forget.
I don't know. I do not watch UFC. I do pay attention closely though to rugby, so that's normally what I
really
my eyes on. Yeah, I mean it's a much more. It's better than American football, I'll say that much. I mean, it's just more gritty. There's no safety equipment, and there's still a great deal of sportsmanship to the sport.
Too bad that didn't have multi-billion-dollar industry like the NFL is. But
I mean, it never took off in America. Otherwise, yeah, it probably would.
It would have, yeah. Like I watched the Leafs game last night, and they unfortunately lost against the Columbus Blue Jackets, but they won the game previously. It was like a back-to-back. And it was intense though, like especially the last few minutes. Like it was very like they were close, but you know, but no, it was funny because like the UFC, they primed them for that. Like you can have a mixed martial arts match with no crowd. It's decent, but something about like watching like New Japan during like wrestling or even any like, you know, sports ball, like it just didn't work because you need that crowd. You know, I mean, maybe not like sports ball, but it was like. They like tried to find ways to, you know, get around it. But anyways, the Super Bowl, it really is a religious event. Do you think a UFO is going to go down in the middle?
Well, this will premiere afterwards. So either you're listening to this and nothing, you know, not happening.
There's the alien invasion,
out, or an alien invasion broke out, or World War III broke out. So who knows?
Probably nothing happening.
Our good friend, Dr. Benjamin Braddock, is on the scene. Apparently, one of the UFOs were shot down in Brazil. And the locals have already begun eating ET. So if we're lucky, the Brazilian wet market will introduce the new extraterrestrial delicacy that will end us all.
Just like the movie Signs. There you go. The Brazilian footage. You remember the Brazilian birthday party? Yeah. You know, I had this.
When the world needed him most, Mel Gibson returns.
Exactly. I had this other take for you. Like all these conspiracy, like the ufology guys, like, well, I mean, he's dead now, God rest his soul. Like Jim Mars, Eric Von Daniken, like all the people that like have frequented Coast to Coast AM for the past 20 years. Imagine if the government finally did like pull the pin on like revealing the UFO like truth, but it's way more mundane than like people like this is the problem like with the real world is that things become so fabulized that the real thing eventually adopts that fabulation and then it becomes terribly mundane. Like imagine all those people that went like on Coast to Coast and talking about UFOs and you know all this stuff. Like you know, I'll admit, like I'm pretty big into it. Like since I was a kid, I was always watching like, you know, UFO documentaries. But imagine if it was like way more like mundane than people think, and then all of a sudden the whole like cottage industry of ufology just like falls apart. Over the weight of like, oh man, the thing we've been fighting for multiple decades, finally they gave it to us, and it's terrible. It's like, oh yeah, the UFOs came and nothing happening. You know, they visit once in a while. We shoot a few of them out of the sky, and they don't seem to mind. You know, I feel like Donald Trump should give.
Imagine if Art Bell, like, you know, knew the truth, and he's listening to all these guys on Coast to Coast, and like in the back of his head, he's just like, I don't have the heart to tell these guys that the truth is boring.
Too invested.
You know, like
it's like imagine telling Richard Hoagland that the face of Mars isn't like it's not really a face on the moon, but it's a face, Art. It's a face. He starts like going postal. He like takes his carrier pistol, his day pistol. He like takes. Art's like, whoa, no wait, Art Bell. He was broadcasting from Hawaii, I believe. I think married a much younger Filipino woman or a Hawaiian woman. I forget. He was living in the Philippines. Yeah. No, he was living in Hawaii.
Yeah, he pulled a Leonardo DiCaprio, I guess. You know, committed to that solid age gap and went for it.
He deserved it though. Like, it wasn't that big of an age. I think she was in her 30s. I don't know. It was
Belle's
a legend.
I have to chuckle at that because I don't know who tweeted it out, but someone had said they were quote tweeting the young Leonardo DiCaprio and then like today Leonardo DiCaprio, and they're doing that whole like twink death is so terrible to see, and it's just like, and the guy had said something along the lines of like, oh, you guys give Leonardo DiCaprio so much dating younger women, but you're literally like making fun of a man for aging. Like, and you wonder why people go for younger individuals, men or women.
He like, I hope they use the photo of like DiCaprio in the beach or in Romeo and Juliet when he did look like a twink.
No, I think it was the Romeo and Juliet picture.
Yeah.
Or like some promo headshot or whatever when he was very young.
Speaking of which, apparently in a few days it's Valentine's Day.
I wasn't escaping this, was I?
No, you weren't.
Okay.
No, I don't have a hot take apart from it being fake, but that's
yeah. I mean, it's it's an incredibly it's just an incredibly over commercialized way of supplication to
it's in
a modern dating culture that is not healthy for men or women. But got to blow all this on Valentine's Day and make sure that someone's happy or get someone to get lucky tonight. It's just like
you're going to be in the doghouse, the long house.
You're going to be in the long house.
The long house.
The longhouse doghouse.
Someone should do that edit. It should be like Al Bundy. Be like, like that should be an edit. Like it's like Al Bundy is like in the longhouse and he becomes like an esoteric costume painter fan. He's like, no,
that's why he's an open misogynist at the shoe store.
Like that was like back when The Simpsons was funny. They did have they could do like the postmodern spoof of it, right? Like the one where like Homer's watching Al Bundy, and it's like Al, let's have sex. And it's like no, and he like he presses the comical toilet lever.
Yeah,
like that. Like I feel like back when The Simpsons could do it. It's sort of like how they spoofed the action hero, like the 80s, like macho with McBain, like the little McBain movie inside The Simpsons. Like Mendoza! Like, see, that's when that great writing. I mean, if you compare this, I'm not going to go down this road, but Valentine's Day is a psyop. Valentine's Day
is divorced from the Catholic feast day. And
exactly.
Here we are.
Exactly. And also it's incel and femcel erasure. I have to put in femcel there for diversity points, but
for all 1.1% of the women that constitutes Gio's YouTube audience. I don't know what your analytics are. Mine is 1.1%.
I think like 3% of my audience is women.
Oh, see, you're doing good on those numbers.
Yeah, that's pretty good for
a right-wing YouTube.
Yeah, our neck of the woods. It's pretty good.
Yeah, that's solid showing.
No, I'm sure none of them are impossible women, but maybe I don't know.
Oh, we should put that image up when in this of impossible women, so people know. Did we show it the last time we were on?
Yeah, we did.
We did. Okay, so good. Impossible women. You know what to look for, folks, and what to avoid.
That's crazy. You know what's crazy is no, but like the Valentine's Day thing, it is. I wonder, like, do Zoomers have a different experience of it than us millennials? Because I'm sure, like, in the schools, they discouraged giving out cards and candies and things like that. I'm sure, like, they'll never do that again.
I have no idea.
I wonder.
Like, because when I was in high school, like, there was still cards or flowers. And I mean, I finished high school in El Paso, so you had everything from, like, mums to bands to all sorts of weird. And of course, like the big quote unquote promposal thing, which led to some delightfully subtle racism, which I can only appreciate now as an older man. Although there are some where it's like interracial, where like it's clearly in reference to cotton picking, and it's just like, oh, all right, this is I don't know if you could ever get away with that today, even in an ironic sense.
But then like your parents, they make you like give out cards to the whole class, not just like. I remember
there's no way in hell that exists today in 2023. I hope that's dead and buried.
Yeah. Then you would like
all the kids that never got any cards growing up as a kid. We love you. That's why
I only got a few cards. I remember then your friends would do a fake one where like in the school, like, if you like, I remember one year.
Oh yeah, they would totally, where they would like make
like, oh man, it was brutal.
Oh, we're
like,
speaking of generational trauma, Gio, aren't we?
Exactly. This is the see, us millennials had to walk so Zoomers could run. They'll never.
We
like,
had to walk so
that.
Zoomers could reject women.
Or become women.
No.
No.
If you're here, don't do that.
I was actually reading the articles that Mary Harrington cited in her like why are
why incels becoming trans?
impossible women.
Impossible women. Yes.
I was like reading it. It does make sense, but it makes sense in one of those like, this is like man-made horror beyond our wildest dreams.
I mean, it's like Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, the way they talk about it. Yeah.
You know, like I think she had that tweet in the article where it was like, can't get the girlfriend, so become the girlfriend. It was like, what kind of cuttlefish strategy is this?
Yeah.
It's just really bizarre.
But the literature, though, about those people that do it, it's quite fascinating how, like, they clearly have in some ways internalized. Like, a lot of them you could tell were probably younger millennials that remember like Manosphere YouTube. And so they have like internalized the lessons of the Manosphere. Just they've used it to justify like, okay, I guess it's true that we live in a gynocratic world. Might as well join it instead of like fight against it. So
yeah, they took the red pill and they made it a black pill.
They made it a pink pill, actually.
They made,
like, no, but I feel like that's probably. I remember I was in a thread once. This was like one of the first times I had to like lock my account. Not one of the first, but like, it was where I was in I wasn't even like, Mary Harrington added me in this thread asking for clarification, and I had like deleted the tweet, and like, because these people like descended on her. But it was essentially about like how you have like the Paul 9K thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like the ultra misogyny of a Paul Cell, but with like the like robot self-hatred of R9K. And I remember like I was explaining to her how like basically you can take these Manosphere beliefs and you can internalize it like inwardly as a form of self-hatred. And that you have like a lot of these, trans people, not a lot, but like there's a percentage of them who probably were like in far right spaces and who probably did like buy into like the Manosphere in like infographics, and then probably still do hate women, but then they decide to like become what their object of desire.
I was about to say, imagine hating women so much you become
that you want to become one. Yeah, it's like
to own the women, become the woman.
Yeah, and then of course like the people with flags in the bio, like they descended on her and like, this is like, I've never heard this. Be normal, touch grass. You're a psycho. Take your meds. Blah blah blah. Like, all the, because like Mary Harrington, she's obviously like one of these. She's a target for these people. And no, but it does make sense though when you read that stuff and like why you can take a lot of these, a lot of like not just knowledge, but a lot of the sort of attitudes and like totally reverse engineer them to like the opposite conclusions of what Manosphere people want you to arrive at. And it's like, yeah, it's very.
It's kind of like what we do when we use our favorite French postmodernists to talk about.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
We weapon those things for the right, whereas I mean, this is the bit though about irony poisoning or not getting too black pilled, because you can go down a rabbit hole to where you do end up castrating yourself essentially to accept your lot in life, which is not what we want. I mean, we want vitality, we want virility, and if we can't have that by taking a look at the current order of things, which by all means is very gynocentric, it is very much idolatrous to xenophilia. You can't look at that
idolatry, as
idolatry is zero H.P. Lovecraft says, but you can't make an idol out of xenophilia, and that does not mean that you should become the other in order to achieve some kind of meta-political or metaphysical win, because all that you do in the meantime is destroy your body and soul.
Well, also, I feel like even though we live in a gynocratic world, it shouldn't be like, it's not that you hate woman qua femininity. It's just that you critique a particular form of disordered femininity that's been promoted that like also like not to like do the meme of like women most affected, because that's not true, but women are still affected by it's sort of like, it's sort of like I'm sounding like the feminists when they say that patriarchy hurts men too. It's like gynocracy hurts women too. No, but it is true though. I mean, they are sort of denied their they're sort of forced to live like a very disordered life, and then you get like, cold healing TikToks of like the one woman recently where it's like I didn't even want to be a surgeon, but now I'm forced to, and I
I
just
am
want to like
42 and I'm not married and I'll never have
yeah,
children.
especially for an Asian woman that much like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
still have that family pressure.
yeah, to have kids and to be married, and that's it for you. You've kind of done yourself. I mean, that's sort of the long consequences of Sheryl Sandberg's liberating, quote unquote, lean in girl
The lean
boss
in
strategy.
strategy.
I mean, if anyone has not read the book, I actually highly recommend that you do,
Oh
because
my
it is the
god.
most accurate way to identify a lot of girl boss mentality, like personified, because she basically tells women, don't be a woman, be a man, be
Yeah.
more disagreeable, put the hours in, turn up that sort of like work ethic to 11, and pull yourself in a direction that is the complete opposite of femininity, in order for you to succeed. So lean into the system, lean into the corporate culture, and in doing
Yeah.
so, the further you lean in, the more you lean away from what makes yourself a woman.
But it's never like work. It's like it's more like just creating like a bureaucratization of the workplace, where it's like it's kind of true, like women are good at like the group meeting type of thing and strategizing and all that. Like it's sort of like the whole complaint that a lot of men have in like the workplace, in the wagey cagey, where it's like the endless meetings and like stuff. It's not like women do the work and go and become a mechanic, or women do the work and become a coder. I guess there are some
No, they
women
all become
coders. There are,
project managers.
yeah.
And you got to have your Monday morning little meeting, that way everyone can get jazzed up for today's work week and what they've got done and what their weekend was like. And yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's a great reason to never go into sort of the corporate culture. Like it's awful. And as
Yeah.
someone who works in that kind of space by nature of like the nonprofit sector, like the Longhouse is more or less bureaucratized charity, and it's
Yeah.
totally devoid of any actual desire to help the poor. It's just like, oh, we work for this foundation, and because we're like subsidized by all these other grants that are never going to go away because this foundation is so huge, because it's like a community foundation or whatever.
It's total
So they're
philanthropy Inc. stuff. Yeah.
yeah, it's just philanthropy. I hate it to death, and it is primarily women, and then it's usually either rich single women who like have girl bossed their way into some like really nice
Yeah.
um, philanthropic spot, or it's the widow of somebody, and they're just like living it up at the Ritz. And you're just like, so what are you doing to help people? Help people, it's the Burgers League Incorporated, and it's just like
Academia is exactly like that, by the way.
and that's why I spend a lot of my time like focusing. I always try and reach out to smaller organizations that actually do something. I always go for charities that have a budget under like $2 million in expenses, because it's usually ran by a small team of people that actually still do something for whatever they do. And that it's just Philanthropy Inc. deserves to die. And
The art world is almost a mirror image of that, by the way. You know that?
I believe it.
Yeah. The
Without
rich
even being in the
older
art world,
women.
I get it.
Yeah. No, but it's 100% exactly. It's the same philanthropic model of like rich old of a certain of a certain ethnicity women that like basically they like, okay, when you did it decently you get like Peggy Guggenheim. When it's bad you get like the most atrocious like woke girl boss. Like it's basically like 50, like it's basically like 60 to 70-year-old rich widow women giving money to 30 plus year old girl boss, identity marker women in the art world. And it's like the whole gamut. And not to say like some of like all of it's bad. Like there's still some like decent stuff out there. But a lot of the times, like you can tell, put it this way, in the art world, you could tell. Um we had this bit once, me and Fen, where we were talking, and you're like, okay, what if we were back in the 60s and you approached Peggy Guggenheim to like put one of your statues in the middle of like the Guggenheim Center, and like that would be like crazy. So you'd have like Rothko right next to Fen de Villiers. Like,
maybe that long sought after statue of Nietzsche could be put right there in the Guggenheim Center. Absolute artistic will to power.
Yeah, it would be like the Giacometti statue of Nietzsche. That's like, man, that's talk about visual violence, like, man. But speaking of violence, do you have any more thoughts about Valentine's Day? I don't really have a high IQ like, Ben Shapiro truth bomb about Valentine's Day. Besides, I've been like cringing this day for the past like 20 years. I don't know.
All I will just say is return to tradition, commemorate the martyrs, and celebrate,
there you go,
marriage. And other than that, just if you're gonna do it, I hope that it's not in a very cringe way. But
do you think like
to our friends and cohorts that have wives and shit like that, hope you get some.
Yeah, but
we're rooting for you.
But do you think that like performative romance is it still within the culture? Like, what would that translate into like Zoomer world? Like, what would the Hallmark look like with Zoomer women?
I have no idea, and I still like. Here's the thing:
what is love to them?
Hallmark is still for Gen X, and older millennial women,
100%.
I mean,
boomer women, of
course. Like, if you watch that and turn it on, like my aunt does, like every Valentine's Day and every Christmas, like
my mother does.
It's set to the Hallmark channel instantly, and they're kind of like they're low key reactionary because like the woman leaves the city to go be with this like nice strangers. They do like some artisanal BS, and you're like,
he runs a bed and breakfast.
He runs a bed and breakfast, or he runs
Christmas Village.
Christmas Village, or he runs like a cranberry farm that's like famous.
Yeah, his family runs a peanut farm or something.
Yeah, so and it's always like like the nice city lean in girl boss decides to leave
like
for
the
country bumpkin Giga Chad.
Yeah, and the city guy she's dating is like a total goober, like asshole.
But like on one hand, like some of them are just like notoriously bad because like I mean did
you see the gay couple one?
No, but I know there's a plethora of that, and that they're starting to have more POC centric stories rather than just being sidelined characters. But there was, I mean, Christmas does the same thing nowadays. Like they've taken Christ out of Christmas to a degree that it's basically Valentine's Day, but in December. And
it's like Christmas themed Valentine.
Yeah, it's just Christmas. It's white, snowy Valentine's Day is what it is.
Yeah,
and they've got.
There's a lot of white there.
But. Oh yeah, quote unquote. But it's getting worse to a degree. Like there was one on Netflix that my mother was watching, and it was called like the Noel Diaries or whatever.
Oh my god, I think my mother watched that.
Yeah, and it's just like some white guy on like the search for his dad or whatever, and he's accompanied by this like light-skinned black woman from the city, and they've got like a dog or whatever, and like her boyfriend is just like anxious, like cucked, like right on screen, and you're like, well, this is kind of like brutal because like she obviously chooses the like 6 foot something musically inclined white guy out in the middle of nowhere. They always love white
guys, I gotta tell you.
Yeah, it's always that. Like, there's no woman that looks like you in these stories. And so it's just like, well, what am I doing other than watching like a really subversive, cringy romance story? Like, there's no nativity scene, there's no nothing. It's just all garbage. And like it's all performative. I don't know how you would do it, right? Like there are articles I've seen where they have attacked Love Actually as this like sort of really problematic film of the early aughts or whatever. And it's just like you couldn't have
500 Days, yeah.
Yeah, I mean you could
we covered on our previous episode.
And as we covered our previous episode, if only you knew how bad things were. But it's just strange because it's like what's romance today? I don't know what it would look like. And the rules of the game have been so fundamentally shifted post-COVID. Like everything is done through computer-mediated communication. I've gone out to dinner with friends. I did this actually yesterday. I went out with my friend from church. We always get lunch, or we always get a dinner after Vespers. And we were just sort of chatting up what we were reading. But across our table, we saw a couple. We don't know if they were on their first date, but I mean, it seemed awkward, like it was their first or second. And they were like on their phones 85% of the time, going back and forth, sort of texting each other and sending each other stuff. And it's just like,
if I did GF, I'd probably do that. I'm not
like,
gonna
where's
lie.
the romance?
Yeah, be like, babe, listen, I gotta reply to someone who called me, whatever, like on Twitter.
Babe, you don't understand. Schwab needs me, you know, something like that.
Yeah, listen, really quickly, I'm just gonna say my 2 cents in the Schwab space. He called me up, you know, I feel bad if I don't attend. Then she'll be like, Gio, just go in your liquor hall. I go, no, I can't because, you know, but no, that is I was actually in my lurker all today. It was a space that Athenian did where he had to delete it though because he got like pretty fed posting about about the recent BAP hit pieces.
There's been like 3 in a row.
Yeah. Oh, coincidentally. No, but with romance, I feel like the Zoomer experience, I can't even, because I know like the millennial
Zoomers in the comments, just please tell us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like because with millennials, it's always like this like detached. How would you describe it? Help me out, Prude. Like with millennials, it's always like it's never like there's always like dancing around it. It's never
there's
like,
always dancing around awkward questions and not wanting to be. And I think I will caveat this by saying this is outside of sort of more religious communities. So like in modern secular society, it has to be performative. People still like to do the like big grand gestures and
cringe.
But not as much nowadays where most of the time it's just like,
that's another thing.
You need to be quote unquote emotionally available, which no one I think nowadays is emotionally available because they've devoted so much time to, you know, these sort of puffed up, filtered reflections of themselves for social media to be primarily interested in. And that's just the nature of how things are these days. And I mean, again, like, you know, for men, like a lot of the stuff that you read in The Rational Male holds up even better in 2023 and just like act accordingly, I guess. But if you're looking for something a little more meaningful, like it's going to be, I've noticed that it's really easy to sift through the bullet much faster with people. Like even people that you want to make friends with. I'm not even, this applies to relationships too, but like you can find out very quickly by just asking a couple of like, you know, what are your first principles type questions? Like, what do you believe on X, Y, and Z? Or where do you come from? A lot of that stuff will be really quick to sort out, sort of like, well, is this worth my time further pursuing a friendship or relationship with? And it's just so quick, so speedy, so transactional. And it's just like, there's no intimacy in a lot of ways. And not in the like cringe sort of like, oh, you know, that we share everything and things like that. It's like, can you actually enjoy your time with said person? Like, do you feel good when you're around them? If you have sex with them, do you still want to be around them afterwards? You know, like
I heard that's a big thing, by the way. That's probably a big, like, if you could like maintain the pillow talk afterwards, like that's crazy, man. Because I can't imagine that, like being intimate with someone then just like blowing them off. Like that's, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say that in public. Maybe that's me being a too too much of a, you know.
No. Because like I've done it once or twice, and
but you're a guy. That's
yeah. I get that.
I'm kidding.
On one hand, you're absolutely right. I'm a guy. It's
maybe unless.
Well, I mean, on one hand, like. Yeah, for men, it's a little easier to sort of like get up, walk, sneak out because, you know, you got your rocks off. You're like, oh, you know, maybe that post-clarity kicks in, and it certainly has. You're like, oh, God, you know,
I gotta get
all this for that. Like, I better get out of here. But on the other hand, you know, like, especially if you like,
if it is someone you want,
if you think that there's something there or something like that, and then it kind of book it. One, you better do a very good job of blocking / ghosting if you're going to do it, but don't do it. And secondly, like, even if you, I don't know, for me, I did it once or twice and I was like, yes, isn't it for me? I'd much rather date somebody. Maybe that's just because at the end of the day, I still like to think of myself as a romantic person and I can't do that. And that was a big reason as to why I was kind of like done sleeping around when I was younger. Because it's just like, oh, this really is just, you know, I'm not serially dating. I'm just serially looking for someone to spend the night with, not be alone type deal when you want something longer than that. So it was always just like serial dating, even though at the end of it all, you're just looking to not be alone in that bed. And that has its own consequences. I don't know how the hell Zoomers manage it because so many Zoomers spend their time alone these days.
There are some people that are like I feel like, again, that's probably more of a millennial thing where like some people just like they can't stand to be alone. But I guess like if like in my case where you're sort of forced to be alone for a variety of reasons, it's like that's I mean you grow a tolerance for it, but there's some people that like, literally can't exist without being in some relationship, even though they'll like there's consequences for that.
Oh
And then
yeah.
like I was like, but then you have the other extreme where you have like people like I had this like I was watching this soft white underbelly video where it's like this upper middle class girl who like goes to orgy parties and it's like it's one of the only times where I actually applaud Mark Lila, whatever his name, Lila, where he like he asked at the end, he's like, okay, you're talking about like kink and hookup and bisexuality, blah blah blah. But it's like, don't you feel like a lot of people would feel empty after these experiences, right? And you could tell like the look on her face, it just right like a hollow point. Like she's like, yeah, I get that, but it's like this total like upper middle class like party throughout her 20s, literally. And she was like a twin, and like she's talking about like how. It's like really crazy. Like she's got like an oral fixation, but then like it's one of the only times where like Mark didn't like immediately just praise it or like try to normalize it. It literally was like you realize that most people feel that this is empty, right? And it's like just boom. It was like literally like
Roasties BTFO'd.
It was like she was being brought up against a wall in a Soviet gulag, like that look on her face. It was like a cartel chainsaw video, like the empty look on there.
Yeah.
Oh no, oh, but no, it was yeah. But when it comes to like, I like that's what I mean, like because romance was such a complicated thing for millennials to begin with, and then like the whole like you have to be friends with them first. That ruined us, by the way. That like just set us up for failure. That's like a terminally millennial type of like approach. But I don't know, like I like having been exempt from all of that culture. What would you say, Prude? Like, would you say like Zoomers? They're much. I mean, of course they're much more online, and they only have dating apps. They don't have like really any other like I don't know venue. But I don't know. Like I mean, of course I'm not a Zoomer, but with millennials,
neither am I. But I do have genuine fear that
yeah.
What do you do as a culture when there's a generation where most of the men aren't with people and they're not procreating, but it's not wartime, like they haven't been gutted in the fields of Flanders or whatever, but instead they're being demoralized and atomized in their own country. Like I don't know what's going to happen, and perhaps in the future we should have this discussion with some Zoomers,
maybe,
and have them on.
Do you know any?
Well, most of the ones I know are religious, but maybe a call-in show. Maybe we've talked about doing a
call-in. Look at my
episode.
friend Piffy to call it.
There you go.
No, but see, the only Zoomers I know are like the worst examples because they're like just as much like true selves, and maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll see. I have a lot of listeners who have GFs and wives even. So
yeah, the successful people in our audience. Maybe y'all can chime in, both old and young, because I think it would be good to have older millennial and Gen Xers. That
I think Bart the Red said he had a GF. I don't know.
I think so.
Yeah.
I know. I've got like I have a large portion of my I have 10% of my audience that's over the age of 55. One of these days I should ask them.
There you go.
Impart wisdom on these poor children.
But yeah, this is an anti-Valentine's Day show. No,
we're only pro Valentine's Day in the context of the saints. Outside of that, throw it
when you had
window.
a GF, did you do the Valentine's Day thing?
I did, yeah. And you send gifts, or you have them prepared, or it's just what you do when you've got someone in your life. Is that you plan it out, you budget accordingly, you take them out somewhere nice, and
hope for the best like afterwards. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you usually get what you're looking for anyways, so it's always a good time.
Yeah, but again, there's something very performative about it. I just don't. I think like true romance.
Well, are we not like a performative species?
We are a performative feces. That's like
we're performative on this show. That's for sure.
Speaking of romance, that's like the Typo Negative album, Origin of the Feces. You know what's funny? Nowadays, if you have a Zoomer top Sadie, here's what you do. Get White Pony by
46-year-old Peckerwood.
yeah.
Reject the Snorlax of the Longhouse.
Reject the Snorlax. Acquire Peckerwood's dating strategy. Here's what you do: Zoomer
the
top
triple
Sadies.
7 red pill.
Well, that's a different form of red pill right there. I'm sure Tom. Well, triples. Oh man,
He follows me. I need to stop.
Yeah, I know. Me too. If I ever want him on the show, here's what you do. Okay, if you have a Zoomer top Sadie that's got a TikTok, here's what you do. In Valentine's, you listen to White Pony by Deftones and October Rust by Typo Negative, and that is like, especially if she's a goth girl, then that's kryptonite right there. That's that, especially October Rust. Okay, like listen, that album got Peter Steele so many different groupies. It's incredible, and it really truly is like one of the most like romantic metal albums of all time. So yeah, there you go. That's my Gio dating advice right there. That's my Valentine's Day approved. You know what's funny about the Hallmark movies is that did you ever hear my review where I did the best Hallmark movie I ever watched?
No, but I'm gonna have to.
It's called The Enchanted Cottage.
The Enchanted Cottage.
Yeah. But it was based off of a 50s film that was based off of a 20s film. That's why it's so good.
1945 romance drama based off of a done by RKO Pictures, Academy Award for Best Music Original Score, adapted from The Enchanted Cottage as a play.
Yeah.
And it was it's been adapted for the screen in 1924, 1945, 2016.
The 2016 one's wild. It's like a disfigured Iraq war veteran that like somehow like goes to this cottage where this like literal like femme cell is working. She's like a nurse, but she's also like, helps out the couple that runs the Enchanted Cottage. And it's crazy because the whole premise is that if you go to this Enchanted Cottage, that even though the outside world still views you as, ugly or mid or whatever, that you're like beautiful in the eyes of each other. It was a great film. It was great because like they actually had an actual femme cell to do this. So it was like, I remember watching this with my mother and I was like tripping out. I'm like, man, this is an actual great film. But I think it's a paywall. I think it was a Solo Variety Mega Show #2 where it's in the Patreon and Substack. But no, it's a great film. There's a video essay on YouTube about it. But it said that the 2016, and yeah, it's true. The 2016.
Well, I'm reading the 1945 Wikipedia stuff right now, and it's just
the 45 one's way better.
They hear their marriage as one of mutual pity.
Yeah,
I feel like that has sort of been the spirit of the age for a lot of people, especially for like more of our progressive secular friends, where it's just like I think the epitome of the show, and I think I'm going to record a rant. I'm going to do it. I'm not going to know when I'm going to do it, but I'm going to record a rant on BoJack Horseman because that show is the epitome of the millennial mindset of current era culture. Maybe and it has these god awful lines. Oh, I mean, it's bad. It deserves a proper deconstruction. And I will.
How many seasons are there?
7. And I've seen all. I've watched it all.
I'm almost through the Shield, so maybe
I will admit I've seen it all. And like, there's this one bit where like the main character played by Will Arnett sort of like crashes a wedding, and it's a lesbian wedding, of course. And it's with like two it's a POC lesbian couple that he inadvertently breaks up with, and like the dad is forcing BoJack Horseman to like
stats on that one.
Oh, it's an interesting show.
It's like UFC, like the featherweight title every night.
Sponsored by Subaru, and like the dad forces BoJack Horseman to like get them to like in this cold feet business and go back together. And he goes on this like long rant where he's just like, listen, if you can find someone that can halfway tolerate you for a lengthy, decent period of time, you've made it. So like, shut up and like be happy and get married. And it's just this like disgustingly like millennial post irony nihilism that like leaks throughout the whole show, where people are still addicts to their passions. And even a man like, and even one of the characters, the show's been out forever. He goes to prison near the end, and even then he doesn't like repent or have any contrition because he's still addicted to fame. And you're just like, yeah, this is the show for the age, because it does everything from talking about,
and you can't blame it. And when you blame
a certain
someone
medical
for it,
procedure to
yeah.
overdose to fame to
Oh, they even have that medical procedure
oh
in it?
yeah, they make a big deal about it. They even have, like, I guess your equivalent of Nicki Minaj doing like a hit single about doing that certain medical
Oh
procedure.
my god.
And they lampoon, of course, the
Mark
pro-life,
Dice was right.
pro-choice.
Nicki Minaj is satanic.
They all are.
They all are. It's
And
like
they
literally, yeah.
cover like the issue of antidepressants and everything. Like, it's written for millennials, and I'm
Oh
sure it's
my
by millennials for
god.
millennials, and it's bad. And like
Oh,
what's worse is that, like, they stayed up on current trends. So like towards the end of like the show, they have like one character, I think is like a pug or whatever,
do you
and
have a
she's like,
Trump
yeah, like the
character?
lo-fi hip hop beats to like chill and relax and study to. And I'm just like, they knew what they were doing, and it's just
Yeah.
like, this is the show for
Did
the
they have a
age.
Trump episode?
No, I don't think he was really ever alluded to specifically.
When
Although
did it end?
I mean, it ended. I think. I mean, it ended during Trump's administration. But I mean,
Okay, so
it's never.
yeah.
He's never like made front and center. Although it's funny because they did a bit about the Second Amendment, and like they convinced the California legislature, because like women were taking up gun ownership as a way for self-defense against muggers and
Of
rapists and things
course.
like that. And so like talking about it, they like the California legislature just bans all guns. And they're like, wow, I can't believe that like the state of California hates women more than it does love the Second Amendment or whatever. And it was just
That's a pretty good one.
I will rant about this show for hours, so we need to get on to the main
Yeah.
course of today's
But no, but I
show.
feel like it is true. Like the romance among millennials is very like performative, but at the same time, I don't know. I mean, I can't really describe it in any firsthand experience, but yeah, it's. I feel like there is something. Maybe I should watch BoJack Horseman. Maybe I should torture myself, and we'll see.
Yeah, it's
But
torture.
yeah, but speaking of torture, no, actually, well, you didn't like. Okay, so let's the main event. This is
We watched Skinamarink.
Skinamarink. You think so? Those who don't know, though, only an Australian and a Canadian millennial growing up in the '90s would know this reference. But it comes from the Wiggles, that one song they had, Skinarinky Dinky Dink. Listen, when I was a kid, like when I was like a little kid, I would like sing the song. Um, but yeah. So I believe that's where they came from. So the background is that the whole place was filmed in the director's childhood home in Alberta, like on super like shoestring, mostly crowdsourced budget.
It had a budget of $15,000,
Wow, that's
which, I
crazy.
mean,
I've seen video
for
essays
what
that
he's
cost that.
doing,
Yeah.
$15,000, I guess, well spent.
Oh my god, a full length film. Like again, I've seen like 30-minute video essays that probably cost that.
Yeah, I mean, there are probably some BreadTube videos or documentaries that have blown through 15 grand.
A Natalie video is probably like almost close to $1 million now. Like every once a year that
Yeah, the
Natalie
once
puts
a
one out.
year ContraPoints video is the same budget as their Patreon.
Yeah, it makes you think though, about the value of. Never mind. This is a topic for Dave.
Let Dave speak to his people.
Yeah, like I wonder if like Dave will come out with a 40-minute think piece video about why ContraPoints only comes out with one video a year. It's happening.
Actually, if you want the answer to it, Dave's U.S. event speech, "Do Leftoids Dream of Reactionary Sheep?" answers the question. Dave, why do you watch BreadTube? He answers it there. So go watch that.
Yeah, I watched a bit of it.
talk.
I gotta watch the full thing.
It's very good. I highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite talks because it was like Dave's greatest hits, but it was just I saw it live in concert, so I mean, it was even better. So,
speaking of drama, though, I noticed Dave replied to Raw Egg about the long. I don't know if we should talk about it, but about the Longhouse one.
well, I think it emerged also out of his most recent video.
Yeah.
Although in his most recent essay, his description of the Longhouse was far more on point to what BAP's concept of it is.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, it may just be speaking on different frequencies, but I guess to be on the right frequency for today's episode, what did you think of this movie? Because I have some gripes, but I don't know. Like, we'll get into them.
Yeah, I liked it. I think that, well, because I'm like used to watching like long and boring indie films. I am addicted to. I've watched all 7 hours of Satan Tango by
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 Bellatar.
Bellatar. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. Have you
I have
watched
not
Satan
done
Tango?
that yet. I've seen a few Bellatar films, but I have not seen Satan Tango.
That's the hill you got to climb if you're a
Is the
true
7.5 some odd hour?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
one of these days.
It really is a prophetic work, though. It's like a more nihilistic Tarkovsky. But anyways, yeah. So I'm used to like a lot of, especially Canadian. I don't know why. As much as I gripe about this country,
Because I mean, I've seen
non-country.
Wreckmeister Harmonies, The
Oh, yeah.
Man from London, and Damnation. Those are the 3 Bellatar
Those are
movies
good
I've seen,
ones.
and they're great. But I've not taken the
Tango pill.
No, I have not taken the Tango pill.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched in like you can't like sit through the whole thing and do it. It's impossible. But anyways, maybe we should review Satan Tango one day.
One day, right? It'll be a
One day.
two-parter.
That'll be a two-parter. Yeah. No, but I've watched a lot of like very super low budget Canadian indie films that have a very particular vibe to them. That have like sort of a semi-suburban, semi-rural location. It's always like they never like by the way, whenever I watch it with my folks, like my mom absolutely hates them because like they never go anywhere, quote unquote. Like, but they're not meant to. They're character pieces.
Yeah.
So but when it comes to Canadian horror, there's a lot of there's a lot of very if you look at the history of it, like for example, if you look at Black Christmas up until like more recent ones, Canadian horror does have a very particular, not very particular, but it does have a markedly particular vibe of the unknown, pretty much. That I feel like American Gothic horror does have that. The whole like found footage thing, of course, does have that because a lot of states in America, like for example, Blair Witch, being filmed in Maryland, very similar vibe to a lot of Canadian provinces. Well, I mean the rural parts, anyways. Not,
Yeah, I mean,
not Baltimoreans. Yeah. you know what's funny?
Found footage for Baltimore would be like something out of Wreck. It wouldn't be.
Yeah.
It would not be. It would not.
You know what I
like
love? I love
Witch.
I love the Solid Cinema review of Pink Flamingos where he kept calling them Baltimoreans.
Oh man, I will admit that I have seen Pink Flamingos, and
Yeah.
that's Waters is an interesting character to say the least.
The best was the Sam Hyde when he went to Rutgers, the fake quote from John Waters. That was hilarious. But no, but yeah, so I've watched a bit of Waters in my day. But no, the point being is that yeah, so in a lot of Canadian indie films, a lot of European indie films that are like horror orientated, you have this sort of confrontation with the wilderness. But what's interesting is because the reason I liked so full disclosure, I watched this film while I'm recovering from another ankle sprain. And it was the middle of the night. And it was a howling, windy night. I was lying in my bed, watching on my phone, and like literally hearing like the raindrops while listening, like watching this. And I feel like it's not so much of a it's not so much of a horror film rather than it's an experience. It's like a film. It's like an I would say like a piece of art cinema. Really, it's like really like an art film. It's not a film that I think the problem with Skinamarink is that because like the internet recently last year took it up as like this is one of our films, it suffered from people watching it because it should have been marketed more to like art Fslers rather than like normie Redditors that go on like creepy YouTube videos. You know what I mean? Like I feel like this is what this film is. The mood, it's all mood. It's all like the lack and the sort of like very like claustrophobic closeness of the atmosphere. It's all about the sort of off-center shot and the sort of hyper focus on lighting and different features from kids' toys to old cartoons to like very specific parts of the room. Like, but it was Prude, go like you describe it. What was your experience and what is the main point of Skinamarink?
So I know the YouTube channel that he runs. So for starters, this is written and directed by Kyle Edward Ball. This is his sort of feature debut. He's done one other movie. I did not watch it. It's called Heck. I know it's like some proof of concept. I'm pretty sure it's similar. But I mean, Skinamarink is very much what he's good at, which is he has these little on his YouTube channel. He just animates and records footage of his best attempt to describe nightmares, because he asks his audience, what nightmares do you have? And I will try my best to provide an audio video experience to it, which some of them are pretty damn good. And it's not bad because he's got a YouTube channel of about 25,000 subs. Like, his stuff's pretty good, and he's a creative guy. And so yeah, I think that you're right that this film should have been marketed towards a more artistic audience, like because a lot of the reviews I read for this before going into it and watching it was like, it was either 5 stars, it was fantastic,
or terrible.
It was like 1 star, it's terrible. And the 5 stars were talking about the things that it was really good at. I thought it was well shot. I thought that the sort of POV style or third person framing that we would hear from the little boy was really well done, and I thank goodness for subtitles. And that the sort of creepiness aura factor was well done. Pacing could have been a little. I think the film's an hour and 40 minutes. I think you could have done probably 80 would have been good. 100, like an hour 20, or anywhere from an hour to an hour 20. I thought you probably could have condensed a lot of this. It wouldn't have been as moody, unsettling, creepy background, but I think for the purposes of getting the horror out, would have done a much better job. But then the 1-star reviews, I think, come from people like me,
normies. Oh no, sir.
I wasn't gonna, well, people like me who've consumed a lot of like analog horror, and a lot of people were complaining that like this is going to be seen as the introduction for a lot of people to analog horror, and they were like upset that this was what it was. And like the first 25 minutes or so had me kind of like, what's she trying to do here? This feels like something I might see on YouTube before, where like, oh, the windows and the walls keep flickering in and out, like, oh, okay, we're setting the mood. Like, clearly this is going to be sort of like a bubble thing where it's all in the house. But yeah, I mean, it could have, I watched it twice. I watched it earlier today after church, and I watched it last night, in the dark. I was getting myself immersed into it. And I think it was around like the 47-minute mark when like the mom. Are we gonna do full spoilers here, or?
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah, all right, full spoilers. I feel really, it's been out since last month for everybody else.
Oh, true. Yeah,
I mean, it's been out since last year at the Fantasia Film Festival, but it only came out in January.
Really? Yeah. Because I just saw 2022, and I assumed it was like.
No, I mean it came out literally a month ago.
I'm curious. Should we do spoilers? Might as well.
Yes. So full spoilers for the film. We're just gonna let you know. But my attention finally got into it a lot more around the time that his sister,
Kylie,
or Kaylee, because they spell it CH, right? Kylie. Yeah. Who knows? But Kaylee. Yeah, K. Okay. Yeah, like when she runs into the mom and she's like, close your eyes, and like, she clearly is taken up by whatever.
I was like waiting for because
it took a long time to get to it. And I was like, finally, we're at 50 minutes into the film, and we're finally getting into something that's like more traditional. You have my attention. What kind of evil are we dealing with here? And then the second part that really got me was this voice, this otherness, telling our protagonist of the story, because we're really seeing everything through the eyes of this 4-year-old little boy, Kevin, in 1995.
Well, I have a point about the 1995 thing, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, where he's instructed to hurt himself with a knife. That was, I was like, ooh, because it's always like the thing that always knots my stomach up. The things that I have a very low tolerance for is like pain inflicted towards children.
Yeah, of course.
Like
Yeah.
under a certain age, I can't do it. I
Yeah.
find it to be unnecessarily cruel. I can't get into it. It has to be done really for an explicit purpose that like is not
It
going to
has to
make
be
me.
not like it has to be alluded to, even not even like
Yeah, I don't want
seen.
to see it on screen, and I don't
Yeah.
want to like, especially like experience it as like a viewer. Like if it's
Yeah.
especially if it's done in like a quasi first person perspective, you
I
really don't.
I feel like he was being influenced by a lot of like dark web content that was like very popular in the 2010s, like Sad Satan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, how old is he? That's the other question. I don't know how old Kyle
He's got to
is.
be a millennial. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I mean, at the beginning of the film, he dedicates it to somebody who died at the age of 30. I don't know enough
Mm,
about it, and um, I didn't look up some of the details behind, who he was pronounced or who he was, dedicating it to. But I mean, I do know that he had said he was influenced by some other experimental films from Canadians like Wavelength.
yeah. Wavelength.
Um, but I don't know
Blair Witch
enough
comes
of
up
it
a lot
too.
in the reviews.
Yeah, and it's funny too because I know I didn't look up who he dedicated it to, but I know that he's done stuff out there where he's like, yeah, like I like analog horror on the internet. I thought it would be neat to play with scenes where we could hear talking, but we couldn't understand it. So I mean, he sounds like he really enjoyed it because yeah, I mean, but for me, yeah, it's like I want to like it, but I think if it were shorter,
Yeah.
it probably would do a lot better to get the horror out. But I mean, as an atmospheric, and especially for like your first really major directorial and written debut, like I have no complaints other than it could be a little shorter. Um, I was always interesting though because like all of the cartoons he used, they're all public domain, so
Yeah.
they've got to be like what 1940s like cartoons.
Some of them are 1930s. Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah. No, but that's what I was gonna say is that um when it comes to time, like I was reading this really great review from Metacritic. One person wrote, or some blogger wrote about the atmosphere and the sort of impending terror of what's happening, but also like the fact that it does focus on, um, because okay, when you're a kid, I don't know, maybe Zoomers are different, but like when you're a kid as a millennial and like you, like okay, I don't have any siblings, but like say I've say you're going to a sleepover, right? And it's like you're trying to creep around, you're trying to like stay up late and watch TV, and it's like you put it super low, and it's like the whole room is imbued with sort of like I how should you describe it, like sort of a trippiness, right? Where it's like you sort of survey the land that's very like the sort of house becomes a foreign land, if you will, in the darkness, that you're trying to like prance around and get snacks and then go back and like go downstairs. Like it's very good at like depicting the typical childhood experience of that. But the sort of to me it was like really a surrealist film because it says in the beginning that it's 1995, right? But it really it didn't even feel like a purely 90s childhood experience. It felt almost like a 70s kid experience because of the cartoons and because of the toys. It's almost like it's it okay, how in the Backrooms videos, like for example Lost in Hyperspace, where it's like more of a narrative, you'll see the camera and the sort of the timestamps are going crazy between 90s, 70s, 80s. It it's sort of present day. It's sort of like that where it's purposefully done to distort that sense of that sense of time, linear time. It's like literally a zone of indeterminacy when it comes to time itself.
Yeah,
But
I agree with you. It didn't feel like 1995 at all. It did
yeah,
not. It
yeah,
did not. It did not feel. It felt very much like. I mean, because the home is big. Like this
yeah,
is a nice house.
yeah, yeah,
Wherever he grew up was pretty much upper middle class Canadian,
yeah.
and it is his childhood home. I mean,
And
it was a
it's got
nice.
even still has the wood decals, which was very common. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And so I mean, it's a nice house, but uh, I enjoyed the. Yeah, it didn't feel like 1995. I mean, Yeah, I mean, obviously it had like the handset phones and things like that.
They
But
built like a pillow for it.
yeah, but I mean, the things that I appreciated was the for me as a viewer, I enjoyed and I appreciated the sort of childhood mystery and
Yeah.
magicalness of the television. Because
Yeah.
there are a lot of shots where like the TV's just on, and that's really what the camera's focused on. And I was very happy he didn't do anything like, oh, spooky thing out of the television, like in every other analog
Like The
horror.
Ring.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
like The Ring, or like any other analog horror thing that you'll see on television where there's like a face in the cartoons, it's telling you to hurt yourself or whatever. Like I was very much appreciative of the fact that like the television was like the sort of like weird but interesting way to retain youthful innocence, that like the TV is a way to have the lights on, a way to have your cartoons, that you're safe. And they're all focused on sort of like nighttime dreamland cartoons.
Yeah.
And which is kind of funny because at the beginning of the film, we hear the father on the phone with the mom or with somebody, presumably his wife, which we don't really see until too late, kind of, where he's like, "Oh yeah, he fell down some stairs and hit his head. Doctor didn't even need stitches; he just hit his head," which kind of gives you a leeway to think, "Oh, this is just a nightmare," because this could
Yeah.
easily be a kid trying to stay awake if you get a concussion because you're not supposed to go to sleep after that. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it was interesting, but I think,
But then the father disappears.
yeah, then the father just totally disappears. And of course we get to have the nice screaming bone snapping of the mom, with the weird
Yeah.
creature in the closet, which
But also all the windows and like any like avenue to the outside world
they all
disappears.
disappear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think that's what makes it more of like a surrealist film. Like there is no outside. It's just a pure um internality. Like it's very, and even like the toilet disappears. Which that itself, like that invokes a lot of like childhood tensions around going to the bathroom at night and like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. And so also the very end there's a screenshot where the house is like totally isolated in the middle of nowhere. So it literally is as if the house just disappeared. But what really like caught me off guard was early on they went downstairs to watch cartoons and I believe Kyle, or what's his name, Kevin?
Kevin.
Kevin, yeah. He says like, I wonder what mom's doing, and then Kaylee is like, I don't want to talk about her. It's like, okay, so now it implies that there's some like broken home situation there. Or
But it's not like
who
Kaylee is
knows?
much older than him either, because like
No,
we
they're
see
almost like
them.
twins.
Yeah, they're almost. Yeah, I think she's like only like 6 and he's 4.
Yeah,
And like you can tell in his language that he's like a 4 or 5-year-old kid, which is I appreciated. All the more reason why the film needed to be subtitled.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, because we see them walk around, like we don't ever see what their faces. I mean, we do see one of their faces later,
little
right?
bit of
A
it.
little
Yeah,
bit of it, but that's where the horror sets in. But we only see their like legs and feet. Like we don't. It's just a way to set the scene that like this is we're viewing this as like almost from their perspective, really, or like we are a child. The camera angles are always low. We're looking at things from a
it's almost like you're
shortened
a
sense of
friend
height.
sleeping over with.
Yeah. It's like we have been invited to be this fly on the wall to a very creepy sleepover where
Yeah,
horrible things are about to happen.
yeah, and then of course it leads all the way up to the photos, like at the very end, the compilation where they're literally erased. They have no face, they have no
No
eyes.
eyes.
Yeah, it just pans into the mother. Was it the mother at the very end?
I
Where it
think
was like,
so.
yeah, she has no face or eyes.
Yeah, I mean the same
Um,
thing happened with the sister.
yeah, yeah, and so that, like, I guess, well, there was some like people on there's some like YouTube commentary people that were trying to like figure it out. But what was your interpretation of it? Just that it was like a nightmare almost that have come to
I
life.
think to me, I would say that that's the nice cop out bit. They're like,
Yeah,
oh, this could all be a concussion or a head trauma like dream, which to some degree I certainly want to have happen, considering that like this other worldly voice and creature literally tells him at one point to like stick a knife in his eye.
and then there's blood that keeps reappearing and then coming back, and then yeah,
Yeah, which
there's
he's
that
done
one
in his
scene.
other videos.
Yeah,
There's one of the nightmare videos he's done is called Lightning, where he's like in a bathroom and like the lightning flashes and it's like very bloody and then it like flashes back, flashes off, flashes back. So I mean,
that's a common trope. Like even Stephen King's It, for instance.
It can be well done, even if it's a trope, which I thought he did a pretty good job of. Like I don't.
I feel like time is a big timelessness is a big reason. Like
Like if you like, especially as a little kid, like there's like when children
you're not aware of time the way that adults are.
Well, yeah, but I was going to say like children in say like mid-30s, 40-year-olds have a very similar understanding of time, where it can feel like it's forever if you stay up late. And you're really going to hate it in the morning or in the afternoon or whenever you wake up. Whereas if you're like in your 20s or you're like a teenager, you can stay up all night, party, and like have the energy to go forward for another day of whatever you're going to do. And so there was that childhood fear of the dark, very present. You definitely shown with the nightlight and the television, which I greatly appreciated because I think every kid at some point in time usually had some fear of the dark and wanted a light on.
Me too.
And then I really appreciated the fact that everything had a really immense sense of scale. Like nothing in the house seemed really gigantic or like disproportionately huge. But if you're like a 4-year-old kid and the camera shot that way and we're seeing everything from like the perspective of this little boy waddling around, the house looked like this gigantic Byzantine structure
that you have to traverse.
Yeah, you had to traverse. It was, he was on his own sort of Oregon Trail where you didn't know, he's looking around every room, calling out for dad over and over and over again. And it's just like, is this the same room that he was in before? Is this a different one? Like for him, I don't know, like he's 4 years old. Like this house is gigantic to him.
Yeah. And the fact that things disappear and reappear and like his dad is gone without any explanation. And it very much is like the timelessness you do get in surrealism, and oftentimes a lot of surrealism will play around with the face and like sort of a purposeful facelessness to like invoke that feeling of human connection being erased totally, the way that you intuit all of the senses through the face is now gone, and so you have sort of like either purposely obscured or literally faceless figures. And so I feel like that was probably the vibe that he was going for. And it isn't a traditional like narrative based horror film where these kids are being chased by some demon or something like that. I mean, there is a demonic presence that you can feel, but it is like the weight of the house itself is sort of like, it follows you everywhere. And there's like a lot of like, again, almost like Bellatar or almost like Tarkovsky, there is like a lot of attention paid to shots that don't have characterization, that are very atmospheric and that don't really have I guess like if you're looking for like an average like the 90 IQ Redditor that's like just like wants to watch a film like 90 IQ normie, then they're not going to get it. They're going to hate that because it's like, oh, this is boring, just get to like the characters, right? Get to the action. But that's not really a film for you then. This is like, again, like I say, it's an art film. It's surrealism. It's almost like, I wouldn't say Lynchian, but like, how like David Lynch will like have
there is a vibe that I did get from it that felt like David Lynch. Like this felt very Red Room style bit. Like I don't know if you've seen Twin Peaks: The Return, but like in sort of the beginning, Agent Cooper, of course, is stuck in the Red Room, and there's a lot of these shots throughout this the Return season where Cooper's trying to escape the Red Room. And more rooms look eerily similar to one another. And it's because of the red drapes and the black and white arrowed tiling of the floor. And so it constantly feels like every room that he's been in looks exactly the same or looks very similar. And you don't know how much progress Agent Cooper is making in sort of this escape, and especially from what he's being chased by. And I felt very similar in this, where there's this sort of like Lynchian Red Room vibe where I don't know, because of whether or not things are disappearing or reappearing, that this is a very similar room. I don't know if Kevin knows that that's the case.
Yeah.
And I mean, especially with like the facial features, I was immediately kind of thought about the last 2 years with masking, because
that could be
all of the developmental delays that children are facing at reading facial cues is totally screwed their emotional intelligence and their understanding of how to be a social person. And so I was thinking to myself, as a child, especially if you're like 6 and under, right? Like you are reliant alongside, sort of positive reinforcement with facial cues.
Yeah.
And if you can't see somebody's eyes, you can't understand someone's mouth, they can't talk to you, that has to be horrifying. I mean, even as a regular person, to have that sort of "I have no mouth and must scream" type deal, right? Like literally, that's a pretty horrifying thing. But I mean, as a kid, where the face of a mother or a sister or a father, and it doesn't exist, as this horribly misshapen thing, is the thing of nightmares. Which is the movie does a very good job of that.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And so in that sense too, I feel like also like the fact that the photos do come from like those low grainy childhood photos that you have of like older cameras, like analog cameras. It's like we all have those. I mean, well, you know what's actually terrifying? The more I think about like the fact that like Zoomers like only know life through digital photography that like mimics the real, but still like you age, but the sort of picture quality doesn't
Never
really.
deteriorates.
Yeah.
Like they'll never have to worry about watching and rewinding a VCR so many times that the quality's ruined.
Not just that, but also like the quality itself. Like when you watch, like I remember this was a few years ago. I was at this family reunion, and I think my aunt had like this videotape of us. We went to this. We used to go to this camp, not camp. Yeah, campground that had a pool for our summer reunion. And I remember like watching the video, and it was like I believe it must have been like 96, 97. I must have been like 4 or 5 years old. And like, I was being like, just going around. My mother had to chase me because, in case I hit someone with this tennis racket I had. But then you look at it, it's like it does look like a different time completely. Like you get that feeling of it. Whereas a lot of digital photography, I mean, the people look different somewhat if you're looking at the early digital photography of like the early 2000s or like the late 90s. But by the time you get to like the 2000s proper, like early YouTube, by the time YouTube hits, it's all over. Then everything becomes the same. Picture quality becomes better, but the feeling of the pictorial landscape within the image is largely similar.
Yeah,
Just that like YouTubers that have been around for years and years, you see them age. But it's really weird. It's like,
oh, you see their content age too. I
you see their
mean,
content age. Yeah.
not everything was at 1080p, 60 FPS, and not everything was recorded in 4K for your viewing pleasure. I mean, especially YouTubers who have been around forever, or even guys that have archived older videos, you'll see it where it's like, wow, this is clearly from a different era. And it's funny because you're mentioning like the film grain, like things that have clearly aged. This is sort of an aside, but it just made me think about how that stuff is preserved, because there's a YouTube channel by the name of Skycore Home Video, which is a great comedy bit.
Oh, I think I've heard of this.
They're hilarious. Their most viral video is like a 1980s premarital like sex PSA, which is hilarious because he like chains the girl. She's like, wow, this is kind of kinky. And like he's like, I knew you were a slut. And he like blows her. It's like virginity is cool. And it's hilarious. It's pretty funny. But
I think I saw a clip on YouTube on Twitter that did the rounds.
Yeah, I mean, the guy that runs the YouTube channel, he's done a lot of great ads, like a subscription service for the Inward Pass. Like, there's been a solution to racism forever, guys.
Was he the one that did this the sexual registry dance, or that was?
Yes, I think it was him.
Okay, yeah,
He did a video recently on his channel saying, a lot of you guys wonder how I do this, and he laid it out, and he says, and he literally showed the process. He literally has a capture card and he puts them from digital onto a VHS and then re-uploads them to his computer. Like he's totally dedicated to the craft. And that's how they all look authentic. It's not like a filter.
I believe even like Backrooms people do that, where they'll take a VCR or they'll take something like that and then they'll like put it through Blender. But they have a process of doing it to translate analog.
I mean, the Kane Pixels guy does everything, I think, through Blender. Although his animation quality has only gotten better.
But they do a process where they shove it through an analog medium and they find a way to translate it to digital. But like through a VHS or something. I forget the exact process, but It's funny because my best friend, he does a lot of like he sells like a lot of eBay stuff, and he was saying like that's actually pretty big right now. People like buying VHS players. I'm like, how could this?
Well, I
But
wonder,
yeah.
you know what? I'll be honest with you. I wonder if the rush for VHS players isn't because people want to do like nostalgia, like video stuff, but
Mm.
this is the other normie media, I guess that you could say I consume because my audience knows that I'm in the comment section over there quite often is Red Letter Media.
Oh yeah.
I love those guys to death. They're great. Mike Stoklos is my spirit animal, but maybe it's because
Didn't
I
they
like to.
recently take an L, a woke L recently, or
I
they
well,
said that
they have
Velma was
some
good.
they have some fat communist that unfortunately I really despise. It's like a total
The Star
neckbeard.
Wars guy,
No, 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 no.
not
It's
Mr. Plinkett. No,
no,
not Mr.
no, no, no.
Plinkett.
It's the he's not one of the he's not it's not the three regulars. It's this like fat commie bearded guy that his takes on Twitter are awful. And but he did the Twin Peaks reviews
Oh
with Jay.
no, but didn't Mike say that Velma was funny or something?
I hope he
Maybe.
didn't. I really hope he didn't. That would break my heart.
Apparently, Velma was twerking on Fred's dead mother.
Yeah, I saw a picture of it,
Yeah.
and it just makes me want to Fed post and redact a lot of people, but I can't. So here we are talking about a different movie. But so the running gag with them is they have all these like VHS tapes of this like god awful 80s like ET ripoff called Nuki. But they were going into this like trend where like you know how they like grade comic books for their
Yeah.
quality? They do the same thing for VHSs nowadays. Apparently it's like a trend. And it's sort of this grift where people will set up like video VHS tape recording or grading websites or whatever. And so they did that, and that's how they like illustrated that that's what they were doing, that they could raise money for charity.
There's this YouTuber, this like e-girl that does that.
So I wonder if that's part of the
Yeah.
reason why people are buying VHS players and VHS tapes, is because they want to like, you know, have professionally graded VHS movies or whatever. Like it's a weird trend. Like I'm not in the sort of media, sort of like film house art culture, but
I asked my friend Kino Corner about that.
yeah, ask him. I wonder if he would
Yeah.
know, because again, this is not my area. That I just like. I'm a cinephile in a lot of ways because, like, yeah, I've seen 3 Bellatar movies as an American, so it's just like, yeah,
You've seen more than 4 Tarkovsky films.
I've seen almost every Tarkovsky film. I've watched the unedited version of Andrei Rublev, The Passion According to Andrei, and I sat through 4 hours of reading subtitles with Russian voices. So yeah, but again, it's not my scene. But I wonder if that's a big trend into it, because like this film, it's interesting because you and I get it because we grew up with it. Yeah. I grew up with a myriad of VHS tapes and having a VHS player TV in my room to go watch movies as a kid, or to do whatever, or to like those really silly plug and play Atari things with the red cable and the yellow cable. But never. But like you said, everything today is so digitized and everything's in 1080p or 4K that like this is a novelty to you. This retro, you know. This retro fetish, I guess, you know, for lack of a better word.
And but also like the fact that the film does like try to be as timeless as possible. I mean, when you're a kid, you do watch some old cartoons. Like I remember watching like Bugs Bunny and you know, like I was never a Disney. Well, I watched a lot of Disney films, but like, you know, when you're a kid, you watch all those cartoons like Foghorn Leghorn, like the Flintstones, like stuff that like literally my old man watched as a kid. Like you watch this in Christmas. You know what my big thing was? The Grinch, the original 50s or 60s cartoon.
Oh yeah.
I watched that. I like watched that like the VHS tape of it in June. Like I think my parents like midway through my childhood had to like buy another one because
for us it was VHS tapes of the Charlie Brown specials.
You watched that too.
Those are still like a perennial tradition of mine during the holidays, is the Charlie Brown Christmas special.
Yeah. You do have those like rituals around media. Like with us, it was like the when did they make it? The 50s? The one version of Christmas Carol with Alistair. What's his name? Oh, you know the one, the classic one, not like, you know, any other abomination. But no, but yeah, so I feel like there is something like it is millennial bait. It is very much so, because we are the generation that like lived on the cusp of that. And I don't know, like with found footage stuff in particular, I think that's probably why it's so appealing, because it's specifically rooted within um questions of nostalgia and timelessness and memories left behind, more or less. Like, I feel like that's probably like a big impetus of this film, is like, uh when you were sealed off in that world, then what happens?
Yeah,
Like
there
that's
is definitely a sort of love letter to, I guess, our generation, or those who
yeah,
grew up with the VHS, like the VHS kids of the world. This was definitely for them, because I felt it watching this movie, where this was definitely about a unique childhood sensation, especially if you're like really young, and like
yeah,
this is like the first time that your parents think that you're safe enough to be left home alone,
yeah,
and while they
yeah,
go out to get dinner or whatever. And it's just like, it's getting late, the sun's down, it's dark out, the doors are locked, but like your only sense of comfort is like the television, or some kind of programming that's on TV.
or
And
PS1.
or yeah, right, or PBS Kids or whatever. Like this is what you've got going for you, right? Because you don't know when they're coming home. And the film, like we mentioned earlier, it does a really good job of making it feel very long. Although I think it could have been about 20 minutes shorter. I'm not
Yeah,
saying it. I don't think it needed to be. I'm not saying that like the atmosphere setting wasn't bad. I'm thinking that it was good. And I'm not saying that you needed to rush to get to the horror bits, because like I didn't mind waiting 47 minutes to finally like see what kind of crazy thing we were dealing with. But I do think that some of the shots and some of the settings could have been a little bit shorter,
yeah,
especially in the sort of like the beginning 20-30 minutes of the film, where it kind of drags on a little bit. Like it does eye your interest a little bit, because dad disappears. Clearly the windows and connections to the outside world are disappearing, and it's almost as if you can't escape the nightmare, which again kind of gives you an out to say that maybe this isn't an evil, but this is just the manifestation of a childhood fear, in
yeah.
the midst of being alone.
But also, it's funny because do you remember like watching something like in particular, and like having a relation to media that you would like, you'd go back into your friends in the schoolyard and you talk about it. I feel like with younger kids, like now, it's very much like online based. Like it's the viral video, or it's like the tweet that blew up, or it's like, you know what I mean? Like it's a totally different phenomenon
Yeah,
than a
there's nothing that is
hard piece of media.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, there's nothing equivalent to today. There's no modern day equivalent, or today's equivalent, today's current year, that will ever be the equivalent of like being a kid, and like you're flipping through the channel, or like your dad flipping through the channel and you see something interesting, and it
Yeah.
traumatizes the shit out of you,
Oh,
and
how
you'll
many of
never
those?
and
Yeah.
you'll never remember what it's from, but that scene, gets misremembered, and it's like permanently scarred into your brain as this like weird
Yeah. Yeah. I
traumatizing
wonder
horror
with the
moment.
bubonic plague. I had my old man was watching a documentary on it. I remember that. Yeah. And like, I know, oh man, exactly. 100%. Yeah. There was this one back when TLC was the learning channel. Speaking of UFOs, there was like this documentary called Top 10 Unsolved Mysteries. And like number one's Area 51. I think it was like number one and number two. And number like three was like human combustion. And I
Mm.
remember like I would watch that. I believe when I was a kid, I must have watched that like 5 or 6 different times, but I could never find it now, ever. Um, and it's like, when you do what, but then sometimes you find stuff like years and years later. Like I remember when I was a kid, I came home from Halloween. I don't know why this, but it was like I remember the Canadian equivalent to MTV is Much Music, right? So they were playing like all the Halloween themed ones, and one of them was the music video to Sonna by Ramstein. And I
Mm.
remember like it terrified me for some reason. But then like years later, I discovered that yes, it was actually the Ramstein song Sonna. And it was like, yeah, you remember that. But I think nowadays kids, like, there is no like mass media event, like certain episodes of a certain popular show or whatever. Like now it's very much like, look at this video that went viral on YouTube or on Twitter of like some magical American beating up a 9-year-old girl. It's like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, or whatever. Like, it's just, I think like millennials got a bit of that with early YouTube, like Numa Numa, or like a lot of those like early YouTube video sensations that like launched the career of like launched the 15 minutes of fame for like so many people that you don't even hear about anymore.
I was about
Like,
to say, like, who knows what happened to the Numa Numa guy?
yeah, I believe he had
I
some
have
health
no idea.
problem. I don't know.
Well, now what's worse is that with like the internet, you can always look up what happened to these
Yeah,
people,
they
and
never
it's often like really depressing.
the
Like
Double Rainbows guy died of a heart attack.
yeah, which like
Yeah.
I always worry because it's just like, are these people dead? Like, is he okay? Oh, so here's his name, Gary William Brolsma, born January 14th, 1986, who
Whoa.
gained oh my god, it was in 2004. Thank you, Newgrounds. Oh man,
That was in 2004.
yeah.
That was like the
In
Tourette's guy videos.
2007, and here. Oh god, you want to feel old? In 2007, he was voted the #1 internet icon by VH1 in their 40 greatest internet superstars list, beating the Star Wars kid who placed numbered second place. But
Even
he's still
like
alive. He's still
VH1 is.
alive. Thank God.
Oh wow, wow.
Oh,
Even like VH1 that dates it. Like that's how
yeah,
old it is.
VH1.
Yeah. My God, like
Oh
VH1
boy.
was quality. I don't know why people hated VH1, but
Oh man.
no, but it's funny because like there was like Tourette's guy. A lot of those were filmed in like the late '90s, but then they like put it later on the website. I remember like like this. I specifically remember the night with my old man in 2007 discovering Tourette's guy, and that like just sparked like a lifelong interest in us like quoting him every
And there's no way that Moldovan, ozone band was ever going to realize that their most popular song is from some, fat 20, 18-year-old on the internet, right? In 2004.
Yeah.
But, you put Moldova on the maps for many Americans who would have never known until like current year conflict.
Yeah, there you go. No, but also like with you, I was trying to think of another thing about the early internet, like the sort of like early like video sensations, like how those like those YouTubers like oh yeah, like who of the sector do we know that has passed on? I'm trying to think of someone.
Well, I mean,
Bryce
not
Bryce Liberty. There you go. He's
yeah.
RIP.
I wasn't gonna say like actual death, but I mean like a lot of the trends have
People have
iterated.
left.
Yeah, people have left. I mean, remember Boxy? Like I hate to be
Yeah.
like that guy, but I mean like where did a lot of where certain people kind of get their start being like Boxy impersonators or it's like sort of the weird cult of e-girl before e-girls.
Yeah, it was. Boxy, listen, Boxy walked so the e-girl can run.
Maybe that's been a disaster, actually.
Been a disaster. Yeah. You know what's funny? I had to retweet it. Chris Sandbach said that I feel like Gio's the only guy who actually understands e-girls. And I go, wow, that's a huge compliment. Me and Crooner are the only two guys that understand e-girls. By the way, go and watch the e-girl documentary by Crooner. You know what's funny? I like made his career.
He's
feel
God's
like
horniest man.
Yeah, it's like there's a fine line between terminal, like there's a fine line between like Heathcliff level romantic and never mind. I'm not gonna say it. No, I love Crooner. He's a friend.
I followed him after your content minded episode came out with him, and then he did this like bizarre breakdown thread of like one of those like animated Barbie films with like the dolphins or whatever.
Yeah, that was great.
And it's just like, this is the horniest I've ever been in my life. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like I had to like take a step back from reading that thread. I was like, okay.
The best one of his best videos was he did this interview. He was going to do more of them. I told him to do more of them. Interview with e-girls, and he did Pant Life. You know the cosplayer?
No.
She's like a wig.
This is outside my total.
You've probably seen her though. She's like a super skinny, blonde, Aryan waifu girl.
What's her
that
name?
is like incredibly. Her name is P2ANT wife, Pant Wife.
Okay.
And she like does cosplay, and she's like one of the like actually like she's actually based, and she has a lot of based opinions. But it's funny because like he was like interviewing her, and like it's like go to the crooner, go to his YouTube and look up interview with E-Girl, and it's like with Pant Wife, and it's total Kino.
Dear
Like
Lord, she looks
yeah,
not her
I
age.
I know, right? She's like the perfect cosplayer. Never mind. I shouldn't say these things. I shouldn't, in case she's watching.
Oh my.
She's one of the 1%, 3% of women that watch this. So no, she does great though. Her costumes are pretty good. She's not like a normal like convention, cosplayer. Because like a lot of cosplayers, you gotta realize you gotta have the body for that. You know, like that's the problem. Like if you want to do anime like she's got the body for an anime cosplayer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I hate to say it. Listen, I hate it. Listen, I'm not objectifying women. I'm not like ZHP that tells you to lose weight. I'm just saying, if you want to be an anime cosplayer, you gotta have the neotinous anime body. That's just fact. Okay, like that's. Oh boy, let's talk about the Backrooms. I feel like we destroyed our credibility on this episode even more than we already have.
Oh well, I think that's why they keep coming back.
Maybe we should get Crooner on.
We debase ourselves so you can have your enjoyment of content.
Yeah.
Are you happy?
Then like all of a sudden the Gio styles, you're just gonna like flood Pant Wife's notifications.
Oh Lord!
Right now,
Gio sent me here.
Gio sent me. Yeah, go to Pant Wife's Twitter. I'll throw it up in the chat, Gio, and say Gio sent me here under her cosplay photos. She always takes it for the mirror too.
Gio sent me here. If you tag me, I will leave the conversation.
Oh my god. Yeah, just Gio, not Prude. Like that. Oh man.
This is an e-girl free Twitter account. Thank you very much. The only e-girls I see are when people retweet those Red Scare girls.
Oh man, maybe we should get Dasha on the show. No, I'm an Anna guy. I'm an Anna man, so it's not gonna. No, I don't know. I feel like I don't know why people have a strange attraction to Dasha over Anna. You know what?
Which one's the blonde one, or the one that dyes their hair black? No, I totally understand why.
Okay, yeah, I get it. I get it. But she is like really like the queen of the e-girls, I feel. But in a way, like she's kind of an e-girl, kind of not.
And you said you wouldn't get bingo on this episode.
Listen, you're a spinster. I don't want to go there, but you're a spinster. Like
you're kind of a hag.
Oh man, but anyways, the Backrooms. I had this so yeah, any final thoughts on Skinamarink before we move on? Or
it's, if you go into it, okay, if you're going to watch this film, like I will recommend that you watch it. It is good.
Yeah.
It's a little long. It kind of drags in some places, but the cinematography is good. The atmosphere setting is fantastic. And that the use of music is not, it's not cliche and sort of like horror film trope, you know, crescendo here. It's very avoiding of that, which I greatly appreciate.
I feel like found footage shouldn't have a right to have like background music.
No, it shouldn't.
No.
That's also what made Blair Witch so great, was that there was none. Go into the film, and if you're an analog horror fan, throw that shit out the window. This is not an analog horror film.
Nope.
This is very much a childhood nightmare depicted. This is very much like his YouTube channel, Bite-Sized Nightmares. This is basically all of his work made into a feature film. It's good, but don't go in there thinking that you're going to see Gemini Home Entertainment or Local 58 or the Mandela Catalog. Yeah. You're not going to get that. I think that's a big reason why there's a lot of negative reviews. This movie could be about 20 minutes shorter, but it has Matt's endorsement. Go watch it.
There you go. As Gio's endorsement as well. But no, it's funny though, because I feel like they slotted it as found footage, like analog horror, because
that's the current thing.
That's
the online trend.
Yeah. And so this is to jump off into the Backrooms. Do you think that's why we're seeing this renaissance of Backrooms content. And by the way, Kane Pixels has secured a deal with A24.
Yeah, I saw that. Like,
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. Because he was going here, I'm gonna say something totally apocryphal, but I feel like Lost in Hyperspace, as much as that channel diverges from the usual found footage lore, I feel like it's more of a meaningful narration if you followed all the episodes up until the recent like Child's Play ones, where it's like in the funhouse, like when you're a kid, you go to a birthday party with one of these centers, right? I feel like Lost in Hyperspace has like a good narrative and has like a good like touch on the more surrealistic aspects of the Backrooms. But then I mean, Prude, you're known for like the analog horror stuff, and I know you want to be like, oh, I want to get away from it. I can never escape. It's sort of like me and Michelle.
There are some things I'm never going to escape, and that's fine. But
yeah,
I mean, I like
it's like
that
me
stuff,
in that one
so it's
photo where I'm painting.
Yeah, that or you and e-girls. Like, you're just never going to escape it.
It's true. It's
the
only
10 years from now, you'll be happily married with your first kid, and there's going to be like, hey, Gio, you remember all these e-girls?
No, but see, it will be to an e-girl. Like Pant Wife or Dosh. No, I'm kidding. What e-girl do you think you could see me with?
I don't know enough e-girls to ever answer this question, Gio.
I wonder, Chris Sambat, she'll probably be listening to this and be like, damn, Gio. Yeah, he's probably like going nuts right now.
He would know. He probably knows a lot more of them than I do. He'd be like, well, Gio, I think you could do pretty well with her. But
what's funny? Because Chris Sambat is always in my Telegram chat. And I'm kind of honored that like he chooses my Telegram to like go at people. Oh, it's hilarious.
He's great. He's a good friend.
He's great, man. Yeah. Friend of the show. No, but yeah, so yeah, there's some things you can't escape, Prude. So in your estimate,
that's fine. I've accepted that.
Listen, from the grace of God go I, okay? Like that's
I've made my peace with it.
but why do you think, because I was gonna write this whole like theory cell like take on the Backrooms where I have like different sources. Like I talk about how it's related to Borsius, right? Like it's related to the Infinity Room. But why do you think like the Backrooms have managed to like out of all the like huge litany of like SCP, is that what's SCP?
I mean, that's a whole other thing. Secure, Contain, Protect.
Yeah.
Secure, Contain, Protect is SCP.
Yeah, or like Creepypasta. Like out of all the lore, like I mean, Slender Man was arguably the first like really like to take off into the normie sphere. But why do you think like the Backrooms in particular, like why hasn't managed to capture the imagination of so many people?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
and I've had some thoughts about it, and I've done a video. It's a real talk. Maybe I should put more scripted thoughts into it. Maybe one of these days I will. But I think that for starters, like, where does the Backroom start? It starts on 4chan.
Yeah.
Where a guy posts a picture, of course, that the now infamous, Backrooms office liminal space thing.
The madness of mono yellow.
Yeah. And it, they turn into this like apocryphal green text copy pasta stories, all these levels and all these things.
Different levels.
There's an informal lore and a hierarchy of the rooms and sort of the good ending, bad ending. And so I think what made Kane's version of it so damn successful is that he assigns a narrative to it, to these sort of vignettes that allows us to like actually have an understanding of it. Because like if you go to any of these sort of like copy pastas, these stories, these creepypasta stories, they're never about how it came to be. It's just, it's this existential thing that you can fall into. Like that's the worst possible thing ever. Whereas, Kane illustrates the story of, well, we're going to use technology to cure the problem of space. Like we don't have enough space to put our shit in. And that's how he sells it. Like there's obvious disasters to it,
it's
allusions
pure
to
capitalist
Soviet
realism. Yeah.
That, but there's also some allusions to like Soviet research as well. Like these sort of like Cold War byproducts of, Cold War era militarist realism gone amok and accelerates to create like this disaster and all.
Which a lot of alien films have that, by the way, as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, what is the
yeah.
classic science fiction trope than the experiment gone wrong? And it's always backed by like the military. I mean, there's even
the
like
Soviet sleep experiment. Yeah,
that or like zombie, like even so like the guy that was like a part of George Romero's Night of the Living Dead, I think he got like the Living Dead like rights, right? So he did like Return of the Living Dead, which is like based off of like which are done off Cold War experiments. But that movie's not great in a lot of ways because although
it's very dated as well.
Although it does mock the zombie culture. It's like, I thought if you like got rid of the head, like that was it. And it's like, I don't know, it's still moving. Like there's some funny bits in that movie.
Yeah.
But
Day of the Dead is also good.
Yes, it is. I like most of Romero's zombie movies. I don't think I have a bad thing to say about any of them. I mean, maybe the remake.
Well, Land of the Dead was sort of like it was like I
like have to rewatch them because I watched them a lot when I was like in middle school and high school, and I liked them for the schlock that they were.
Me too, man.
Maybe we should go back to those in the future episodes.
Did you like the remake or the original Dawn of the Dead?
I love the original Dawn of the Dead. I've only seen
I like the remake
once.
You know why I like the
remake? I can't give enough of a feedback.
You know why I like the remake besides Ving Rhames? Because I hate Sarah Polley. I detest Sarah Polley, even though she is a good actress. You know why I like the remake?
Why?
Hoo-ah! That's why. Because I'm scared. When I was young, when I watched that the first time, I watched it at my tenant's house, his apartment. He had like the DVD, and like we were I'm like, oh my god, this is so amazing. Like this, like literally, like that's again my love of new metal. That's why the Disturbed song, because like down with the Sickness and the Johnny Cash song, The Bell Horse, those are like the two perfect songs for it. But the remake. The remake is good because it is like more like 2000s gratuitous violence zombie film, right?
Yeah.
But the original, I feel, is much more philosophic. It is much more of like the vibe.
Oh, I mean, it's much more of a biting critique of like consumer yuppie culture.
Yeah.
Than the remake is. I mean, the remake. I need to rewatch it. It's been forever, so I don't want to like speak out of turn. I do like the original more. And there's also a little bit of like both movies I know have a little bit of fun of like, oh, we're in a mall, we can do whatever we want. They do that way more in the original than they do the remake. But yeah, it's
the original. The remake is very much like it's in a mall for a reason because mall rats love that film. Love that, like myself. So it's
I didn't
music.
Yeah, I didn't grow up really being a mall rat. I didn't really have that option.
Then they had like the swing cover of Down with the Sickness in the middle of it. It was like amazing.
I guess it takes up. But to get back to like the Backrooms, I guess it takes off out of all of these stories, out of everything, because there's a narrative to it, and like the quality of his work is just a step above anyone else's. Like, for instance, and this is just, I don't know why he did it this way, but the guy that runs the Local 58 channel, he had done a video premiere on Halloween. It was like in the middle of the and I was like, let's fucking go, because he hasn't done a video in a year, and I was excited. I stayed up late. I watched it, and it was totally different because like the last video he did was like, we're going to transition to digital. Like, the analog horror days, like of like, public access television are over. We're going to do something new. I was like, okay, I'm looking forward to it. And I don't know where on earth you can watch it now. I think the link is unlisted. I'd have to like go through my history and find it. But so the new video he does is literally a like NASA style, we're going to go like land on an asteroid, type mission. And like, obviously the asteroid looks like a skull. There's some creepy shit, but like, it's a long, drawn out. It's very similar to Skinamarink in the ways of like, I'm going to sit here and enjoy this atmosphere of muffled, NASA noises and talking like that for like 30 minutes before anything happens. And then like it lands on the asteroid. There's a door on the camera. The door opens and then...
Oh, we lost you for a minute there.
My internet cut out.
Oh, man.
Where did I cut out last? And I'll just wrap up.
You were saying about you're ranting about about the Local 58 video.
Oh, well, yeah. So I mean,
so like, the old door opens and what happens?
Oh, they chuck the probe out into space and like they fly away from the asteroid and then the video ends.
That's it.
That was it. And I thought,
my
like
God.
what an interesting sort of payoff that like I didn't have as much gripe about it as the comment section did, but he was clearly doing something different. And the Backrooms does something very similar with that. Like, it takes these like monsters or this uncanny level of horror of this liminal space, but he provides a plot to it. He provides characterization, conspiracy. There's an otherness to it that communicates with us in some videos, and it illustrates that this doesn't affect just like the guys at Async Research, but everywhere else.
Yeah.
And then finally, like, you know, there are times where these researchers will encounter uncanny valley anomaly. Well, uncanny valley is in like, oh, here's this road, here's this town that's filled with like stop signs inside this house, and all of a sudden like one of these creatures comes after you. And of course you can slow down like the audio, and like you can realize these things are talking to you. And so he fleshes out the world that is accessible to everyone. Like, it's not just like creepypasta writers.
Yeah.
And there's an element of conspiracy to it. So it makes for a compelling plot. So I mean, congratulations to Kane Pixels, who's like what, 17, 18 years old, and just secured an A24 deal. Like, way to go.
Yeah, that's incredible. No, but also like you know, I feel like that is, you know, the Backrooms, it does have that element to it of timelessness as well. Like, that's the whole point. But also like it is the fear of the alone, and it's an uncanny space where you can recognize something, but it sort of grows like a hyperstructure that has a light. And I believe Kane Pixels even like alludes to the fact that there are certain anomalies in the certain rooms within the Backrooms that explains why things like don't seem like they're real. Like, they have they have a memory of like normal waking life that we're experiencing right now, but they're always like either hyper exaggerated, or they're repeats of repeats that don't really make sense, that aren't really meant for like human use or consumption. And the reason for that is sort of like there's a degradation of it that only something like an organic non-human entity or a program could replicate. So beds and chairs and tables are very like large, or they're out of place, or there's too many of them. And then you go on in a lot of these Backrooms videos, and there's some that don't even have like monsters, but rather they just have that pure experience of being alone. But also the fact that there is like alludes to the fact the reason they're wearing suits is because there's some kind of like toxin in the air, or it affects you, or something of that nature. But also that your sense of time and even like human function seems to be distorted. Like, you don't get tired by constantly walking. I don't see like videos where people are like sitting down in chairs. You don't eat, you don't, go to the bathroom. It's sort of like you're in a sort of Gehenna hellscape where normal like functioning bodily concerns are sort of taken from you, and you're just like forced to walk in this like endless desert of rooms, which I feel that's why
you're in some kind of perdition.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
A sort of capitalist realist purgatory.
Yeah, because the Backroom, because it basically is like the non-place personified, more or less. It is like pure non-place. It's what our world is filled with. And even when you strip those of utility and sense making, then you have the Backrooms. And I feel that's why
that's why urban exploration is so popular.
Exactly, yeah.
Because what is it? We are surrounded by places of especially in the West, right? Like, that's another part of the Backrooms that I think is it's a cultural undertone that I don't know for instance, I don't know if Kane Pixels touches on it, like if he's aware of it, but like for me, I see like images that are like associated with the Backrooms, and I think of urban exploration, and I think about the fact that in places like Canada and the United States, there are millions of dead industrial plants or dead manufacturing centers that were once like the vitality of a nation's industry and like GDP, and all that's gone. All that livelihood is gone. All of these non-places that once served such a vital, important purpose are now haunted by the ghosts of what the country used to be. We were haunted by the shadow of industry which we once championed, and now have outsourced to lesser, cheaper labor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but like post-industrialism is an aesthetic unto itself. like that's why I wrote about urban exploration a bit here and there, and the Backrooms is really just like a logical extrapolation of that, but it's like a logical abstraction from that, because now instead of the remains of what was brought to human use, now you have like a pure form of uselessness. You have a state where utility becomes its opposite, its antecedent, it's pure uselessness, because it's generated by a non-human entity or some kind of like organic thing. Like, for example, I remember there was one, I think it was Kane Pixels or Async, where they like actually take the fake ceiling down. It's just like endless replications of like beams and carrier wires, and like it seemingly doesn't make any sense. So you can only conclude that it is sort of like an organic entity that is growing and changing and like doesn't like things.
Yeah, and they do that in one of the Kane Pixels videos where they find a corpse. Yeah. And they like bring it for autopsy, and they're like, well, this thing, like, what is this infected with? Like, how long, like, how old is this corpse? Like, and we don't know, but it's implied to be fresh, but it doesn't look fresh.
It's like a simulacra.
But it's like whatever inhabits this world, right? Perhaps whatever creates these creatures, and we don't have the answers to it. Yeah, is that there's clearly an organic force that has been unleashed or tapped into. Like, we've entered a space that we are not supposed to exist in, and it's an entirely different, ecosystem. And so for people who aren't in these hazmat suits, like, you're going to turn into these like weird fungal entities, or it's going to eat you alive,
Yeah, exactly.
It's why a big thing. It's why a big thing about like everyone's fan theories is like you got to pay attention to when people are coughing. And I was like, well, that makes sense. Spores.
That makes sense. Yeah. Which is like to the thesis that is an organic entity that has like a hive mind or has like some form of an overmind that can change, and it really is a sensorium where you sort of like have different pitches and temperature and mood, and yeah. But anyways, about UFOs. Let's say exploring the alien question. Like, that was the title of an old Nobody TM video.
Oh boy!
Considering the alien question. Do you think that it is a UFO? Do you think like the government's just distracting us from chemical Ohio? I don't know. It's vinyl chloride.
I'd imagine that. I mean, I have to think back to the last time I had a big UFO scare and the whole like Project Blue Book and all the sort of, we're going to investigate ourselves for, trying out new technologies. And I mean, the thing is like Americans, like the American government has like a satellite superiority more than any other country. So like doing things in atmosphere makes a lot of sense if you don't have the capacity to, put out as many satellites per year. And so, strange things flying overhead, testing out new gear is very concerning because, well, we are in the middle of a not so proxified third world war. And, how concerning is it that, for instance, whatever you think of the Chinese spy balloon thing, to me, it's very telling that it flew over where most of America's nuclear missiles are kept at first. And it says a lot that this most recent thing that happened over Canada was over one of the most populated Canadian cities by the lakes. And so it's just like, I don't know, if I wanted to like cause terror or if I wanted to like drop a nuclear warhead on somebody and, this is the way to do it. Like, I mean, that would be the way to, yeah. I mean, I said that, and I think I said that before we went live on air to record was that, saying it's UFOs, they did this even earlier, like declassified naval footage and reports. It's like, well, this would be a really neat way to like abdicate responsibility in case one of these quote unquote unidentified objects causes a mass casualty.
One of these broken arrows.
Yeah, like no one wants to go to war. So it's like, oh, well, we got aliens to deal with or these unidentified flying objects. We must, secure these trans-terrorist organizations and take down these drones or whatever. Like, because I don't know if anyone wants to really commit to go to war right now.
No, but you figure they would just blame it on Russia, wouldn't they? Or no, probably not.
Well, why would I want to blame it on a country that has no problem turning the key and pressing the button?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I think that the goal might be to mitigate actually full-on total nuclear death, but who knows?
No, but that would agree with the conspiracy. Like, which conspiracy it's sort of like
which conspiracy is correct this time?
Yeah, millions must die or millions must live. Like that. What is the? Yeah, you know what I mean. Like do they want like the full on depopulation program, or do they want, or are they like wanting to like prevent a full on nuclear war? That they're not like really serious. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's also BAP's point, like about if they really want to depopulate you, why are they spending billions of dollars on like third world aid to like give them grain slop to eat? Like, you know, like it really is sort of like if you look at things through a template of biopower rather than like normal conspiracism. I feel like
I mean, from a high-low versus middle, wouldn't I want a bunch of third worlders that I could continuously import against dissident populations? Like, to me, that just seems like classic Juvenalian style of using biopower. But
they get the price they pay is that they get like an even better form of like grain slop when they come here.
Yeah, and I mean they also get access to like all sorts of drugs and other ways to keep you permanently dependent upon the state that imported you here. Like, exactly. You know, like it's I mean,
we need Peter Nemitz
in my country.
Yeah, we need Peter Nemitz to measure the obesity rates of newly landed migrants from Africa.
They all get fatter.
America.
They all get fatter.
Okay, there you go.
I mean, like
the transmogrification happens pretty quick.
it was kind of funny because I mean, even Bizlet tweeted out like about like a Hong Kong exchange student and like she got fat really quick.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's just like, you know, like I mean, what most of Americans
still look pretty good though, but I mean,
most of what we eat is poison anyway. I mean, she could be some white Gio, but
yeah.
I'll side with Zero HP Lovecraft on that time 80% of the time.
No, but I like if she was in the middle of the transmogrification, she would look very good. But
she could be saved.
Yeah, but no, but like that's what I mean. Like I feel like it's very funny how pop culture has been inundated with like UFO media, like, and of course like me not being immune from it, but then at the same time, like if it is like a genuine phenomenon that the government, like all of a sudden after decades and decades of like hiding it and Project Blue Book and you name it, right? Like now they're gonna be like, okay, yeah, it's real.
James Forrestal, all that jazz. We have to understand the truth about Majestic 12.
Yeah.
Bring back Deus Ex, baby.
No, but what if they do like admit that, like, oh yes, they are UFOs. The government doesn't know. We shot it down, and you know, we barbecued the little green man.
Thank you, Dr. Benjamin Braddock.
Everyone tasted
like that Donald Trump deep fake. Got a little bite of her flesh.
Gets me rock hard. Just really, really. I love how the AI like put at the very end, like the way he talks. Like it makes me rock hard thinking about it to this day. Really.
Oh, it's so bad.
It's so terrible.
Yeah, you get one from one of those little countries because you know they weren't coming back. I was like, oh my gosh,
from one of those shit galaxies. Because you know this one ain't gonna warp speed back. You know, the Anunnaki said it was all right. You know, there probably will. Like, I mean, I'd imagine that the closest film to alien encounter that's correct would be that film. But with
which film?
Oh, who's the guy that did The Pianist? You know that guy where like he had sex with the alien?
Oh, I don't think who did The Pianist? That was Roman Polanski.
No, but like the actor.
Oh, Adrian Brody?
Adrian Brody, yeah. He had a film where he had sex with an alien.
Okay, what is he?
What's it called? I forget. Let me look it up. Adrian Brody, alien.
Well, you're gonna get that god awful Predators movie from
Splice. That was the film. Splice. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. He has sex with an alien.
I have not seen Splice.
That would be like right off the bat. That would be like the most realistic. Apart from like alien, that would be like the other most realistic option. That would, you know. But no, I feel like UFO culture.
Wasn't Splice just about genetic experiments? I don't even think that was an
alien. But like he genetically takes alien DNA and he like genetically splices.
Oh, okay.
A humanoid alien.
I haven't seen this movie.
Yeah, it was all right. It was decent. It was kind of stupid, but like, no, it was like that's like this. The meme about it.
Out
2009.
2009. Okay.
Yeah. No, but the meme about it was like you discover an alien, what's the first thing you do? You have sex with it. That's like the first.
That's in so many. Okay, so there's like a whole
species.
This is very Reddited. There's a whole like Reddit fan fiction community called like Humanity HFY.
Oh,
and like
yeah.
you know that's a running gag. It's just like, well, what does mankind do when it goes out in the stars? And someone's just like, I could probably get,
like James Kirk.
Yeah, I could be James T. Kirk. I could this alien, and it's just like
there's something Freudian about the alien encounter.
I don't know if we do that.
Maybe
I would hope not.
It comes up in Farscape. It comes up in like obviously Star Trek. It comes up everywhere. Like Star Wars, I'd imagine.
I don't know. It doesn't get touched on so much.
I really like Species though. Like whatever.
But I mean, look, if the aliens looked like 1999 Claudia Black,
yeah,
I could understand why.
Exactly. Or if the aliens look like who is TNG? What's her name? The hot one. What was her character's name on Star Trek Next Generation? The psychic one.
Oh, the empath.
Yeah.
Deanna Troi.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, so if everyone looked like Marina Sirtis in the 1980s.
Yeah.
I guess that's fine.
Yeah. Maybe if every alien looked like Jennifer Connelly, then that could be. Oh boy. No, but I feel like there is a sort of libidinal, like there is sort of like a Freudian like outside coming to the end, sort of like you know what I mean? Like I feel like that's why it's such a prominent theme, like exploring sexuality in alien films. Like there's obviously like a theory cell.
That god awful. Benicio del Toro was it? No, good.
Benicio del Toro was it?
Yeah.
That one?
Well, the one.
Well, Species was all about
Shape of Water or whatever. The one where she fished. Dude.
Oh yeah. I think that's
what is that called? Is it Guillermo? Yeah, it's gotta be. It's a Guillermo del Toro film.
But I like Species because it had like sort of, it had a coming of age.
Shape of Water. Okay.
Yeah, Shape of Water, but like also like I don't know. I'm a fan of Forrest Whitaker. I like his facial like tics that he does. I like how he's like you know what I mean? Like Forrest Whitaker, he's got a very particular type of character that he does. But yeah, that's
1995.
Is that when The Shape of Water? No,
that's when Species came out.
Whatever happened to Natasha Henstridge? Whatever happened to her? I wonder.
I don't know.
Natasha I remember she was in Ghosts of Mars.
What has she been? Okay, she's been in Digstown since 2019. Ghost of Mars, She Spies, Eli Stone, and Would Be Kings. Yeah. All these Canadian shows.
Yeah.
Not not too big elsewhere.
Yeah, that's crazy.
She doesn't look bad. Not bad for 48.
She was great in Ghosts of Mars, man. That was like one of my favorite like childhood films right there. Even though like everyone doesn't like
it's one of those like it's late like late 90s early 2000s John Carpenter where it's
no one likes it. Vampires.
Yeah.
Vampires was such a based and red-pilled film though. It truly was. Like the stuff that they got like James Woods got away with saying in it. Like it's just man, I love James Woods. Like Vampires is like a macho bro vampire film. It very like I don't know why people don't like it. I like listen, it is schlock. It is terrible.
I mean it had Cheryl Lee, Daniel Baldwin, and James Woods, and you got to say some
pretty out there stuff. Yeah. I should go watch it again, man. That's a great film. The soundtrack
it's like one of Cheryl Lee's last bits before she got back into doing stuff with David Lynch.
Yeah. Wait, she did stuff with David Lynch?
Cheryl Lee is Laura Palmer.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. She looked different in Vampires.
Oh, very.
Yeah, very much different.
That's not the Laura Palmer we know.
Such a great film. Like, see, I gotta admit, as much as I'm like high-minded galaxy brain, people like to think I am. I enjoy quite a bit of trash. Like, I light up on a lot of like juvenile, like, you're
the raccoon, like this, or this is my garbage.
This is my garbage.
This is
it's like deathmatch wrestling. Yeah, like it's the most trashy redneck thing you could ever imagine. Because a lot of it's just the stuff I grew up on as a kid was like very trashy. So like I get like behind the back of my parents, But yeah, Vampires is a great film. I highly recommend Vampires. It's so based. It's so like James Woods at his like fine. Like they could remake it with James Woods now, and he'd have like a MAGA character. Like it'd be,
He'd be he'd be your boomer, vampire hunter going to local pizza shops, getting ready to escape some dude that comes in that looks a little ethnic. It'd be golden.
Democrats, the real vampires.
He'd be on like an alt Twitter, like some Telegram mock-up because they never use the real thing when they're on.
It'd be like Wignat Twitter, but only for vampire hunters. Where they like share anti-vampire memes. Like they have like a vampire.
That film would never get made because it'd be called Nancy's in a Heartbeat. James Woods going out there putting parentheses with little wooden stake emojis. Like, yeah, you couldn't make that movie today, but
and the guy that like is and like the timid guy that's like his sidekick is Eric Stryker. And then like he'll have to like say the line "Democrats are the real vampires." That's so. Listen, okay, we've been. This is like the silliest episode of the Digital Archipelago. No, I shouldn't say that. We had some pretty wild ones.
I mean, you could probably replace. I
don't know. Still talk about the Teen Apocalypse one. Like, Gio, why'd you get me to watch 3 LGBT?
We got you to watch 3 really gay movies. And one of them where what's his name gets his stuff chopped off.
Speaking of aliens,
Oh yeah, speaking of totally alien worlds.
But no, it's funny though because nowhere, like we said, like it is an alien youth culture world. Teens are alienated, but also an alien is hunting them down. So that's like, it's like a very ham-fisted like 1990s MTV type of total debased like teensploitation schlock.
I mean, that's gone though. What exploitation is there?
Euphoria.
Other than, yeah.
But not really though, because you celebrate the teens.
You celebrate the exploitation because it's liberating.
Yeah, exactly. It's no longer, which I think like Gregor Araki, to his credit, was sort of like he was trying to do that, but he knew that like
I guess the closest thing to exploitation would be Bros.
Maybe
allegedly gay rom-com with what's his name, and it's just like no one I know watched it. I don't know any, like I'm glad I don't know anybody that did, but I'm just like I saw the trailer for it and it was so grotesquely gay. I have no other. It was just grotesquely
no other
gay.
Word for it.
It was all no. There are other words for it. I just can't say them on YouTube. It was offensively homosexual, and it had everything.
It's like the new Last of Us.
And like this is all in the trailer, and they're like, "Oh, the heteros have had their fun," and you're just thinking to myself, "This, like, unless you're that big of a poof, I don't really think anyone is watching this thinking, oh yes, this is the gay community." But on the other hand, maybe it's one of those deeply confessional films where actually this is the gay community, and we're just that saccharine and disgusting, which is
fine.
What
I heard people were baiting, like the whole trailer was meant to like bait straight people into watching it just out of curiosity. Like I think
it told me never to watch this and to like only further my bigotry.
It had the opposite effect, but I feel like there was always like among progressive, like mostly urban center, like especially like white women, not even like just white women, but like women in general, in like a more of like upper middle class, like progressive coastal circles. There was always like sort of a fascination with like gay media, but not in like a serious auteur sense. It was more of like
in a consumerist other, sure.
Yeah, it was more like Will and Grace type
of which only compounded like gay acceptance, and there's like communication and psychology studies to back that up, which is why we shouldn't platform them. But anyways, I just
like the brutally honest like LGBT indie films, the stuff that Gregor Araki was doing, like if you watch like other ones, it's like it gives you a more like honest artistic depiction of it. Like I know Jack the Preview goes into this, but like the like more normie like mainstream stuff like that.
I mean, Call Me by Your Name is pretty damn accurate, actually.
Yeah,
about just like let's take advantage of young college men.
Yeah, like or I guess
actually
like,
he's like what 17 actually in that movie. Timothy Chalamet plays a like 17-year-old or 16-year-old kid.
Oh, is that why that it got canceled almost? Like, is that why?
Because it was pretty honest about how young they go for. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, or even like a like Blue's the Warmest Color. That's like another. But
I thought they were canceling that one. Now I thought they were angry.
They canceled.
About it.
They were angry because it was essentially just like it became like bro heterosexual bait because of like the explicit lesbian scenes. So it's like you can't win because it's sort
explicit,
of like
except just not in the beatings.
Yeah, it's like no, but you know what I mean. Like the lesing out scenes are very pornographic. Like,
well, I mean, isn't like if you were to go on Netflix right now and look for it, I mean, it's literally just like two lips.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, it's very much like this.
You
is
see everything.
Softcore bait. You know.
Well, it's kind of like Nymphomaniac, right? Like Lars von Trier. It's like a lot of Charlotte Gainsborough films where it's like very like softcore, like going beyond softcore. But like even like back in the day, like I remember watching Boys Don't Cry, which was sort of like it was propagandistic in the sense of like you have to accept them, blah blah blah. Like that's always like the conceit, right? Yeah. But I do feel like again, maybe I'm just telling on myself, but it was a good film. Like I think Hilary Swank did a great job because it was a true story, and it was like it's debatable how like was it like specifically transphobic? Yeah, of course. I mean, literally, you are like okay for YouTube purposes, you're literally like violating a trans person, and like I mean, yeah, it's there, but it was a very well done depiction.
It was an artistically tasteful transphobia.
Yeah, no, but what I mean was the film itself was not transphobic, but the story. I mean, they violate this trans person and they redact, so without saying it. But the film itself was good because it was more or less accurate from like the real story, from what I can tell. But then there's other like horrendous propaganda.
I know this film exists is when they had Seth MacFarlane do like that Oscars musical bit that he did, where he's telling every woman on like the audience who he saw full frontal nudity.
Oh,
or whose breasts he had saw, and he'd quickly listed off like Hilary Swank and Boys Don't Cry, something like that. And I was like, that's the only reason why I know this film exists. I'm like, oh, okay, so in this movie, Boys Don't Cry, Hilary Swank is like topless.
Yeah. Yeah. Hilary Swank is a F2M, which is very interesting, even for back then. Like that wasn't that common, right? So maybe it was more common than we thought, but like among their like But then there's other like films like
maybe they were transmaxing before it was cool.
Maybe, but there was other films like the Matthew Shepard made for TV movie that everyone watched in high school back in the day. That's like pure propaganda. That's not what happened. But without going into detail.
Well, there's plenty of other people that will tell you the truth about that. That was not what it's been. He's not the martyr you think he is.
Yeah. Sort of I'm noticing a pattern with like secular martyrs of the regime. Like the summer of a year ago.
Oh yeah, they're all on drugs.
They're all on or something else. Or it's no, but I feel like there is I don't know. There like again, a lot of my intellectual interests coincide with my interests in a lot of trashy type of
give me the garbage.
Yeah, give me the garbage. But I feel like people consume like there is something to be said about like the consumer meme, but at the same time, I noticed that even the opposite end is like just critiquing everything as consumerism. Like recently, like that guy that like built his Star Wars sabers out of Lego.
Yeah.
And that like gimmick account was like getting lambasted for it, which I mean, the guy isn't like a passive consumer. He's like building his unique spin on Star Wars and in like a very limiting medium, Lego. But then you do have like I think it's very much probably more of a millennial thing where it's like the one hand, it's like you're a mindless consumer, you're not like pursuing anything higher in life, but then the other end, which is like more popular, of course, is let people enjoy things. So it's like there's always going to be the dialectic between you're a mindless zombie consumer, like you're watching the Super Bowl right now, or at the time of this recording, you were watching the Super Bowl, or the other side, which is let people enjoy things, which is like an equally stupid, well, more so stupid argument. So it's like this dialectical hell that we're always caught in. But I feel like maybe the Zoomers will have like a different relation to consumption than we did. I don't know.
I would imagine that they will, but then again, I feel like their life is more dominated by
Maybe it's
consumption than
accelerated.
we are.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe there's more nuance to them than we give them credit for, and we can't necessarily communicate it in a way that, you know, they can't communicate it in a way that we easily pick up on. I think that has a lot to do with the fact that we live in a post-irony society.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like the Zoomers, like basically living without irony, allows them to not get sucked into, I mean, being conscious of the fact that we've reviewed a lot of like trashy things. But like that being said, like there's still like some meat to it. It's not like making like a 40-minute YouTube millennial video essay on the latest Star Wars film, or on like,
oh yeah, that is totally a millennial, you know, like media
Yeah.
criticism is dominated by millennials in every way, shape, or form. Like that's my favorite meme is like the two Indian trackers, and they're like, "A white man has been here." It's like, how can you tell? And it's like all
Video
these
essay.
cringy video essays about media.
Yeah, exactly. But do we do that as well, or we're more of like, I mean, I don't think we've really trashed anything. Like, did we ever hate, like, I mean, we've both individually done it, but have we ever like hate watched something on the show?
No, I don't think
Maybe.
so. Have we purposefully? No. Well,
500 Days of Summer, maybe. But
500
like,
Days of Summer is close, but there's a lot more
Yeah.
to that than me saying I just hate this movie. There's a lot more commentary. I think
It's
we
very
gave to
personal.
it. That is also
Yeah.
personal. Just
Yeah.
because, like, oh, you know, this is bad. This is a bad movie for men. I don't know. Like, I don't think we've ever gone out of our way to watch something to purposefully hate it. But I also think our politics informs us not to do that. Like, I'm never gonna go watch the HBO Last of Us because I know that Neil Druckmann has a disgusting fetish for like lovable patriarchal characters getting beat up by what looks like I have no desire to watch that. Or like, oh, we're gonna purposely change the story so like Nick Offerman kisses somebody, like, you know, Macho Man,
straight people,
you know, like Macho Man, you know, guy, like, you know, Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec, like everyone's
now Ron
favorite.
Swanson's gay.
Yeah, he's gay now. You know, that favorite character Joel got beat up by a muscular woman. Oh, you know, like the cute girl Ellie from the first game that you fell in love with that you had to protect at all costs. Well, she's like in a lesbian relationship, and his girlfriend is ethnic from a certain place in the Middle East. And you're like, oh my god. So there's no point. Why would I want to hate watch something that is purposely designed for me to hate watch for the purpose of it being like, ooh, I'm getting my rocks off because like everything that you know and love I've totally ruined and made progressive subversive. Like why do I want to like why would I want to
But
enable
that's
your
the millennial. Yeah, that's the millennial dialectic. Yeah, like that's the political. Like you'll have people like Matt Walsh.
I hate the dialectic. I hate I hate the Antichrist. I hate the dialectic.
I hate to say it, but I think like in certain instances there is like culture war distractions, even though very terrible people have said like it's all just culture war distraction. You know who I'm talking about. But no, I feel like in that case it's probably true in the sense of like the dialectic is like people like Matt Walsh or Paul Joseph Watson, they'll like become these like big like daily. Well, I'm not Paul Joseph Watson, not affiliated with the Daily Wire. He might as well be, but like they'll like usually like Daily Wire personalities or whatever, or like big conservative pundits, they'll like take a piece of this like subversive culture, like a cultural pop culture output ephemera, and that'll become like a news cycle for a few days. And like then what happens is these like libs in Hollywood, which are largely like Gen X and millennial writers, they'll like purposefully insert this stuff just because they know like Matt Walsh and Paul Joseph Watson and Little Ben and like I don't know Glenn Beck. Not Glenn. No, Glenn Beck doesn't do that. But like who else am I thinking of here? Help me out.
I mean, literally, anyone
like,
in the Daily Wire.
Yeah,
everyone. It's not just Matt Walsh. It's the Clavens.
Everybody.
It's the Michael J. Knowles.
Yeah.
Like this is the thing. I'm going to
Jack
get some shit for
Posobiec,
this.
they'll all like make tweets about it.
I will probably get for this, but Razor Fist of all people had a point about this. He's like, you really do have to like mentally ignore this because they crave your attention and your reaction.
Just don't look. Yeah,
you know, and to some extent that's a cop out, and I get why people
there are
would
people
say
that do it well, like Devin Stack does it.
I mean, Devin Stack will watch and he won't react in that way. He'll literally just make up like a 45-minute stream lecture telling you why this is the most subversive ever, which is much more well done and academically rooted. Whereas
then like Jack Posobiec,
whereas Jack Posobiec making
about
memes
the lesbian
Twitter.
M&Ms or whatever.
Yeah, like the hot like the green M thing, you know, like.
Even Tucker got sucked into that one.
Tucker Carlson's audience is also not you and I. I mean,
true.
That's the thing is that this is the thing that I've noticed is that like the generation that no one likes talking about is Gen X.
Yeah,
and with an interesting reason because like my parents are Gen X.
Yeah,
and my parents watch what I would find to be absolutely subversive or things that I'm just like I'm not going to pay attention to, but they buy into it. Like they are the ones that are getting programmed more and more than I think millennials or boomers, because Gen X conservatives, you know, unless you're like online or sort of like this radical, you know, like unless you're like Semiagog or Radlib, right, who are prime Gen X, old enough to be my father, then you're not. You will eat some of this up. Like they love Yellowstone to death, despite that being subversive.
My parents are old, like later. My parents are late boomers. And they like love Yellowstone now.
Yeah,
and my old man's like, "How can you say this is a subversive show?" I go, "I can't like sit down and explain."
The only part that I know that is kind of like is quasi based is when they redact a journalist. That's the only time.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll walk by them when they're watching the show, and I heard that happen, and I was like, "Let's go!" Just to sort of like illustrate the differences of politics. I'm like, "Oh, it's like journalists. Let's go!"
Yeah. But my old man will be like, "They're fighting the government. How can you say it's not based?" And I go, "No, look at like the girl bossism. Look at like," I forget the exact thesis as to why like people on Twitter hate Yellowstone. I have to ask like some people that post about it, but like, why do you hate Yellowstone, Prude? How is it subversive? I can't, but like I'm trying to give my old man a good answer, but I haven't.
Well,
watched
I mean,
it enough.
I think that one, it takes the sort of like, you know, protect the family at all costs. It takes a lot of conservative tropes, but it splatters a lot of sort of the progressive modernist imagery that we see nowadays. Like it's about the women, you know. It's clearly like, oh well, and it's also because it's out in the middle of nowhere, like it's Montana. Like, you know, we also get the white man's comeuppance when it comes to like the natives. It's just a lot of tropes that I've seen that are like very much of today's progressive broadcasting. And I'm like, it doesn't matter that like there's this sort of like conservative patriarch. It's just like at the end of the day, right? Like he's not fighting the government. I mean, he's occupying the same quote like quasi longhouse that we're all dealing with, and despite his efforts to fight back against, he's still losing.
It's like
it doesn't matter how many journalists you redact here. Like the man that led their journalist redaction has also got like slapped and beat up by his sister and was told that he's less of a man. And so it's like, how am I to root for any of these characters and their actions? If
how can you say that Kevin Costner's character is less of a man, being like a multimillionaire rancher in this day and age? How can that be less of a man? That's, I mean, I don't know the specific context of that.
Well, like, it's funny because like I know that there's like two other shows related to it. Like there's a 1923 one that kind of is a prequel with like Helen Mirren and Harrison Ford, and it's much more brutal. And but I don't want to give. Why do I want to give my time to this stuff? But at the same time, like the cope or the attack or criticism that you would levy against me would be like, you're outsourcing your judgments to other people that have described it to be subversive. And so you're just as bad as like a drone that's algorithmically programmed. And to some extent, I would probably buy that criticism. I would understand why. Like you should watch it for yourself and give it an opinion. But I mean, I consume so much less television. I consume so much live streams. Like I don't keep up with a lot of my colleagues anymore. And it's not because their work has gotten bad, but it's like I really just want to read more, and I want to be able to speak for myself and formulate new ideas. You know, like I don't want to just consume and be like, okay, you know, I'm happy. Like it's not good for me intellectually.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I watch like stuff like sorry, I'm seeing a meme by my good friend content enjoyer at Chud Close My Eyes, but he's got the pipe like the pipe jack, you know, like the fat glasses, and he goes watching the super cool.
I just saw you retweet it.
Watching the super cool.
Oh, well done.
No, but that's like my old man. That's why he like every single day he's like, Gio, you're just wasting your time on the internet on tweeting. I go, yeah, but that's my like lively, because I know it's lively, but it's like you could do other things. Once you write more, I go, yeah, you're right. I should write more. I have to start writing more actually, when I'm getting paid for it. But no, it's like I like the boomer, like it's got a boomer bait to it because it's like cowboy rancher patriarch, but also you have girl bossism, like the daughter. You know what I noticed? A lot of like boomers, they have this thing about their daughter.
Yeah.
Gen X daughters. They got this thing about it. I don't know. It's like this weirdo. I don't want to like go down the Freudian electric complex, but no, but it is a prevalent theme of like, my daughter's based because she's a huntress and she goes to the range with me. It's like that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of the boomer con girl boss.
Yeah, it's like the Daily Wire films. Yeah.
You know, one of these days we should, if we're gonna hate watch something, we should watch.
Oh, we should do that next week.
Yeah, we should.
We have time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Sunday would be fine. What's the one? Okay, hold on. We're looking. We're planning next episode, guys. Sorry, we got to do on this premiere.
Yeah.
Daily Wire films. Let's find out which ones do they have. We've got What Is a Woman, of course, which I'm not gonna do that.
No, we're gonna watch.
I've not seen it, by the way.
Me neither.
I've watched bits and pieces.
You know why? Okay, you know why I refuse to watch it? Because
why?
I don't like I used to, but I don't like anymore. Like the sort of cringy, like when you confront leftists at a protest sort of content, like kind of like what Steven Crowder does, or like I saw this video where this like counter protester is like the soy jack at the March for Life, where he's like, it's I don't like that content because you're never going to convince them otherwise. You're never going to have like a logical discussion with them. That's why like I hate debates. Listen, okay, I know that deep down I feel very like I feel very guilty because I was on a debate show for 2 years, but I don't like that type of content because I feel like it's.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
I did not like internet blood sports when I was a consumer.
Was different though. Like that was kind of like
I didn't like it as a consumer, and for some like, and you know, even in sort of the follow the rules format where it was very adversarial.
Yeah.
You know, it was
It was cringe.
Well, I mean, you never let anyone answer a bloody question. That has nothing to do with you. But like,
no, I was bad, man. I was bad interrupting people.
You weren't okay. As bad as you are still now in regards to interrupting or whatever, you are nowhere near as bad as a certain co-host of yours that would never. They would always ask like a cringy, like, let's twist the knife question that like totally changes the thesis of the dude's point. And it's like, let the man talk. And so maybe I don't like adversarial interviews. Maybe that's the reason why. Like I like dialogue and discussion. Like this is what you do very well on Content Minded, like on your show, because you let the dude can talk. That's why I
prevent myself from.
Well, that's why it's partially why I like Benjamin Boyce. Is like despite the fact that he interviews people I would never talk to.
Yeah,
you know, at least he's willing to like let someone ramble, and he was kind enough to let me ramble, which you can go watch on his channel. And
he follows me. Maybe he'll invite me on.
You should. You two would have a lovely talk, I think.
But
I think so. But because I mean, he'll let people ramble, and then he'll ask questions that kind of like get to the root of the matter, and then it makes you think. And that you know, very few people do that nowadays. And that's the kind of content I like listening to.
I like when people vibe. Like that's like, for example, I just recorded one with Scott Manny on, and like me and him, I feel like we have a chemistry.
Oh, the like, Greenwood guy.
Yeah, man. Me and him like go off together. It's amazing. He's my boy for life. I'll always defend Scott, man. Like I love him to death. But No, but you know when people have a vibe, like for example, I was watching the Uber Boyle one about Andrew Tate, and like the certain former co-host is like asking like these theoretical questions that just don't go anywhere, and I'm like, if I was still on the show, I'd be like, first of all, I would think this topic is so stupid, but then it's like, okay, I understand. Like you do stuff for content okay, if you're in a debate show, you know this, Prude. You do stuff for content that you wouldn't ordinarily want to do because it's like the relevant topic that week that you must do. You must contribute to the discourse.
We do that so often on the show.
Yeah, we do. No,
but I mean,
true.
I'm okay with it. Like in the same way that like AA gets to do the current thing with UO, unpopular opinions. Like there's a time and place for it. But like maybe this is also why I'm like horrible at Twitter, because I never do current thing. I never add to the discourse.
You do sometimes. When you do, you like really go off.
Sometimes
you really
like I've thrown a few arrows at vocal distance now, but who hasn't?
What was the nickname we came up for him?
Converso.
I forget. What did we call him? I forget.
I don't know.
It wasn't anything too bad. It was like woke all Pistons or something. I don't know. It was some stupid juvenile. It was some stupid. It's like I call like Tim Pool Tim Gruel, because like that's the content level is Gruel. So it's like, I really final news item. Speaking of current events,
that poll he did.
Oh no! That poll too. But Aella on Lex. Yeah.
No. I meant Tim Pool he had done that poll about. Should I just retire Timcast?
I won't hear
yeses have it. Although he just simply was like, well, no, there's no way in hell this dude was ever going to retire a million plus sub YouTube channel that makes a ton of money. Like
he makes so much money, it's incredible.
He just handed it off to one of his wages.
Yeah. Well, wait, is he handing off the Timcast to one of his wages?
I think he had a clip saying like, if the yeses have it, I'll retire from doing this, and I've still got 2 other channels which have other content to do. But he had this like Indian guy that does like on the ground reporting that he wants to like dedicate the channel to have more time to, which was like, okay, cool. I guess that's fine. I don't know. I don't.
It's like taking the golden cow. It's like taking the golden goose and like chopping its head off.
Yeah, I don't know why you would be beholden to that. Like if Tim Pool should have grown some balls and be like, no, this is not complicated. Like when I worked at Vice, this is my business. I'm not closing it. Screw the haters. We're gonna have Jack Sobiek on 2 blocks. Yeah.
What?
Pretty sure he worked. It's either Vice or somewhere else where he always says it's complicated.
I've never heard this.
Yeah, he used to work for Vice.
Was it under Gavin McGinnis Vice?
No, I mean like 2014,
Vice.
20 like
oh my god,
Vice magazine.
post Gavin
McGinnis Vice. 2014, 2013, go even older. How old can we get from his first one? Yeah, 2013. Tim Pool live streaming from Istanbul.
That's incredible. He was one of those hipsters that would send to like third world countries.
Yeah. Paulo, New Zealand, Turkey. Yeah, that's right. I'm using New Zealand as a country.
Jonica, what's your
election
name?
Day in election day in Turkey, live from Bangkok.
Oh, we didn't talk about Turkey.
Kim.com.
Who you interviewed Kim.com?
Yeah, I think he's in New Zealand. Yeah, in New Zealand. So yeah, he's been all. Oh, and he was in Ukraine in 2013.
Oh, right before Maidan. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So I mean, like he's been around for a hot
wow.
Plus,
I wouldn't even recognize him. He's got that video
of him like, skateboarding when he still had some hair on him.
He was always resentful about Adam Krigler being a better skateboarder than him. Or no, I think Krigler said he was a better skateboarder. Like apparently Tim Pool's
I don't know the whole drama behind all that.
I watched like a decent chunk of Krigler's expose. Like it is sold. Yeah, I was sold. Like I didn't like Tim Pool to begin with, but like,
I don't trust I don't think any man that's like 5'6" and balding and unmarried probably has a lot of chips on his shoulder and a businessman.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think like partially of it too is that Krigler was like married to like a 10 out of 10. That's probably like another resentment point. But
amen, brother.
Yeah, but it's it's funny, like Tim Pool, like that type of content is just I can't stand it. But it's like you do need like midwit content for like a lot of people. But I guess like to me, the more like I was saying this to someone on Twitter, because the whole Aella thing came up again. I know we can't escape her nowadays. It seems we can't escape Aella.
Yeah, this Reason magazine contributor everyone keeps talking about.
Like on
That's
Lex
the only way I
Friedman,
refer to her.
Yeah, you know what would be a better medium for Aella would be Soft White Underbelly instead of Lex Friedman.
Just go to Twitch,
or just that too.
Just host a dating and sex advice column on Twitch.
I think she does that with her Substack.
She'd probably make more money than she would on her back.
Yeah, probably. I mean, you know what's great though? Like as much. Okay,
is this the last current thing we're talking about?
Unless you have another current thing.
No, I'm out of current things because
okay.
I'm out of current Fs to give.
Oh, true. I'm all out of. I'm all out of Fs
I
to give.
No more to give. You know.
No, but Aella and Lex Friedman is like treating her like a serious sex researcher, even though her like research is like making Twitter polls of like the most lurid and disgusting things. Like it very much is like I know even talking about it reduces us to the banality of discourse.
Well, since we're talking about, I guess what you would call coal.
Yeah, coal.
I had a friend of the show.
Super cool.
A friend of the super cool. A friend of the show, in who I've met IRL and I've gone to services with in church.
Content and is probably going to listen to this episode.
He just texted me. And he's like, "What does it mean to post coal?" So he asked me. Then he's like, "I don't." And I told him, I guess it's a more racist form of calling something cringe because actually I don't know the answer.
No, okay, cool. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so please, because he just texted me saying, I don't know, please interrupt Gio mid-show regarding this terminology.
Okay, coal is like the thing that you do in between the Gemmy, right? In between the Gemmy. Say coal is like, it doesn't necessarily contribute to discourse. It's not necessarily a hot take, but it heats up the hot take. It's the sort of the ephemera of a given discourse before you have something rise to the top, which is the gem. It's sort of like how coal is compressed over millions of years to create carbonized diamonds, right? So coal, I mean, it could have some racialized terms, but it's more of like coal is the thing that heats the conversation in general, keeps it going. In a way, it's just like posting the same old meme, posting the same old Giga Chat dialogue, posting the same like, here is my hot take on the current Aella, Lex Friedman, blah, blah, blah. It's like coal is what lights the kiln that generates the gems.
So coal is just another way of like generating hot takes.
And in some ways, yeah, but those takes are not hot though. Yeah, those takes are not hot in themselves. They're like
so it's like mediocre discourse points.
I believe so. Yeah, it's like there are certain accounts that they're just posting coal. Like they're like, I hate to say it, but a friend of ours is actually a master posting coal on Twitter, and he always gets accused of posting coal. But you know that lawyer friend guy? Lawyer friend?
Oh, the attorney friend?
Attorney friend.
The guy that everyone's been like, didn't we just talk about him last episode where like
I think so.
He got ratioed to hell over that like choose your GF picture.
Yeah, like that stuff is pure cool. Listen, I'm not insulting attorney friend if he's listening to this. I'm just saying like a lot of like my personal thesis is that I no one's gonna remember this a year from now, but like attorney friend is probably doing a bit, in my opinion. He's probably a smarter frog that like he's an intelligent frog that knows what he's doing is posting coal, and he loves the response of people like being enraged by the coal, like the whole like
I've truly on that point because like I've seen a lot of people like all the deep fake voice stuff where it's like Trump where like you see this coal this attorney friend is posting and it's like
he calls him an F slur
and he's just like oh my like I don't know like that takes
you
to a whole other
level.
back
Biggie Slonk
I was like, golly, this is intense. Or like they've done. I think we talked about that last episode too. Where they, like have excoriated Spinach Bra to death.
Yeah, like that's what I was to say. Like, Spinach Bra, they limp ass. They hate him. Yeah, I've seen like Buru Soy memes about Spinach Bra.
Like I don't follow in the same circle Spinach Bra does.
Me neither. But
I mean, sort of. I just saw one today on the timeline where they put like it was a picture of the like chemical fire like mushroom cloud from East Palestine, and it was Giga Chat on the phone saying like spinach bra's been taken care of, and I was like, who do you have to piss off to like get this level of like infamy on Twitter? Because I busted out laughing.
I'm like so shocked that I have never been griped. I mean, maybe behind my back, but like I've never seen it on the TL. Like even like I don't know, even like
this is the only reason why I know like your friend Piff exists is because of that stupid Giga Chat he did of like, oh, you do geopolitics, so like the politics of Gio Panashetti. I was like, no, I'm talking about international relation. He's not that big. That's a little mean. And I was just like, I remember, and I've remembered that one to probably as long as I'll live. Like that was pretty good. As long as I'm the Prudentialist, I'll always remember that.
That's so good. That's so amazing.
I was just like, sigh. But I don't think I've ever seen it either. And I haven't seen it on the timeline. No one's ever like messaged me. They're like, "Oh, look at this," like no one's ever done that. Whereas, like, I see that on the timeline by everybody almost. I'm just like, who do you have to get angry to do such a
and you know what the funny thing is, Spinach Bra, like he doesn't even care. Like that's he probably does, but like Spinach Bra, like he's just so persistent in his posting.
Oh, I mean, he said it in one of his like tweets where he was just like, I'm canceling all podcast appearances. I'm never letting these like AI demons take my voice. It doesn't stop them from like they did the Tucker Carlson one where like apparently there's been some mass Kaz event caused by him. And like, all right, we've got and I'm not going to do the whole thing because we're on YouTube, but it's just like, yeah, one of the victims' parents said that they were so disappointed that their son had been like by a man that short. They thought that his killer would be taller. And I was just like, oh my, like, it's so brutal. I'm like, oh man, this Chat GPT deepfake voice AI is like turned cyberbullying up to 11. It's gonna make somebody snap.
Like people that keep like making deep fakes. Oh my god, that you're right.
It's like I've seen some on Telegram where it's like, I was watching like Trump doing like the I was browsing my favorite Telegram channel. I hate the Antichrist, and like they posted the best clown girl or whatever. And I'm like, I don't need to hear the rest of this. I'm done. I don't need to hear the 45th president of the United States talk about I don't need it. I don't need it.
The best was Trump talking about Dago supremacist on Twitter.
Oh, I have not heard that
deep fake. That was a great one.
My favorite one is still the
Epstein Island one.
Epstein Island one.
That'll never get old. Like I watched it again today. Like I listened to it again. Like it's mesmerizing. Like, the way it keeps accelerating.
It's just so good.
It's so
one
bad.
Of these little, Colombia, Belize, all countries because they weren't going to come back.
One of those countries. This one, she's not coming back.
He barbecued at the end, sacrificed her to some dark elder god. I don't know.
I was always too high to pay attention.
We take a little taste of her.
Just a little. Makes me rock hard thinking about it right now.
That's the way we've destroyed our credibility.
I know. The fact that I even like mentioned the fact that I like hover around these like
to it on occasion.
Or like to hover around these like extreme anime races on Twitter. Like, some of them are quite intelligent though. I gotta come on, man. You can't deny. Even if you may not agree with them,
racists.
Yeah, like even if you may not agree with them, you have to admit that their level of the fact that like a lot of these guys are not even like in their mid-20s, like that's incredible. Like it's terrifying because all these young kids have grown up on the internet, but their level of ability to like synthesize discourse and I mean, there's a lot of these anime racist accounts or like not even like race, but like, wow, yeah. But like, I don't know. It's just maybe I'm just burying myself here, but like they're like some of them they will post.
If you made it this far in the premiere, folks, we love you. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh man,
we've said a little too much this episode.
Yeah, but Aella and Lex Friedman. You know why I hate Lex Friedman the most is because I think like unlike Tim Pool, Peter. Go up, Peter. You know what grinds?
No one will get that reference unless you're on Twitter.
Yeah. You know what grinds my gears about Lex Friedman? The best edit I saw was Thomas as Peter Griffin, and like, you know what grinds my gears? I should post that on Twitter. But no, what grinds my gears is that I feel like the problem with Lex Friedman is not just like, okay, the pseudo-intellectual stuff is like obviously grating, but it's more of like the weaponization of empathy and the weaponization of like, I'm a nice guy. Because here's the thing. I know
Well,
one when
he
I
puts
see
on the
one.
intellect voice. He acts overly empathetic. He always tries to be like,
Yeah.
well, I'm really understanding. You know, why would you say things that are so hurtful?
Like, I know one when I see one, put it that way.
Oh, yeah, I mean, like, you know, if he wasn't this, like, propped up,
Yeah.
potentially, I mean, very much a glowy kind of character, he would have been a male feminist at, like, the University of Tel Aviv or something. You know, like, he'd be predatory. And so, but now that Joe Rogan is on Spotify and he's contracted out there for a ton of money, you need someone to fill the YouTube space. So if Joe Rogan is like the podcast for grug brains, you know, Lex Friedman is the AstroTurf podcast for suits and midwits.
Yeah, but because it was like someone said on Twitter, it's like it hovers around intellectual content, but it never is there. It never offends the audience with it actually being like an intellectual discussion.
I've seen his reading list. I don't know if that man's an intellectual.
No, but I mean like the guests though, like he'll have on like theoretical physicist, historian, biologist, Aella girl. Like that's like
you know fellow travelers in their movement. You know.
Yeah, well, they're all rationalists. So.
Oh, of course, all rationalists and other things. Yeah.
That was the best. That was the best.
Thank you, Leather Apron Club, for telling us that.
Some of the best memes, unironically, have come out of Med Gold, where it's like, like Lex Friedman stuttering. It's that one picture of Aella where she's lifting up her skirt, and it's like, so, Aella, you have sex with men for money. You mean I could pay you money and have? And then and Aella's like, yes, Lex. Are you a virgin, by the way? And he's like, I just came. Like that was.
Oh my.
When Matt Gold gets it, he gets it. Like it's.
He's good at what he does.
He's good at what he does.
He's got his niche down.
We should have Matt Gold on the show.
What? Yeah, we should one of these days.
That'd be good because he's got a podcast now. And
oh, good.
I wonder if we could. I wonder what that episode would look like.
That would be.
Talk to Matt Gold.
Episode 30 something. You know, episode 39. God's horniest man.
God's horniest man alive. Med Gold.
Featuring Med Gold and the little engine that touched himself.
JT would come on with Med Gold. That'd be a dream come true, by the way. But yeah, man.
Just accept the yellow dollar sign for that one, Gio.
Just don't even try to monetize it.
Try. Actually, no, you should try just to force someone to manually watch 4 hours of what I can only imagine the most debauched conversation in human history.
So JJ, describe what your sister-in-law looks like. It's like
spends an hour on Abby Winters like women.
I love JJ. But
I
yeah,
hope he
man,
appeals and gets his old accounts back.
That'd be great if he gets like the original JJ Zakhoff plane.
All those.
Well, you know, John came back.
Journalists.
Yeah, John. You know John. Yeah, John came back.
Really?
Yeah, and do you remember? What's his name? This is like an old hat account. Do you remember Anime Wife Lover?
No.
Polyphemus or Polypheus or whatever?
No, not that one.
Okay, yeah. This is like an old hat account back in the day, back in like 2016. Got his account back. Who runs the Anime Pussy podcast. I'm not joking. That's the name of it.
Oh, boy.
Well, the name is Anime Wife Lover. Come on. You can't, you know.
Yeah, I get that, but, you know.
I always love when old hat, like, see, as much as, like, me and John don't really, like, agree with any, you know, I do like to see an old hat come back, you know, like, Anime Wife Lover, John. Yeah, man, like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, it's nice to see an old hat come back. Like, you know, Patrick Casey got reinstated, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure did.
Oh, man. Well, we were no supers to go. So for $5, Spasticus Autisticus says, Gio, stop right now. What are you talking about? Who is content enjoyer? Who is Med Gold? Who is anime wife lover? Tell me right now. Thank you. We're gonna spend half an hour on that question.
Luthemplar for $5 US says, tell me what a body without organs is. Don't dumb it down. What is rice somewhere?
Oh, subject to change for $5. No, $1.99.
Yeah, $1.99.
No comment, just $1.99.
Prince of Parma for 14 South African
$14.
rand. Enjoy your 49 cents. So you don't say we didn't stay for the super chat. So be sure during this premiere to send them. Gio will be in the chat.
Yeah,
he will answer your questions and send him super thanks because he's got that enabled on his channel. So
of course I do.
So do I. I haven't gotten any, but by all means.
Well, my shorts are monetized as well now.
I guess I'll start doing shorts.
You better. I wonder, there's a way to trim your content to make them into shorts. I have to like exploit that.
The only short I have on my channel right now is a Steve Saylor meme as of to date.
Nice.
But yeah, so
wow.
Subscribe to Gio's channel.
Thank you. This has been cool. So
we still made it 3 hours without super chats.
I know. Oh my god.
We only talked about the movie for maybe 45 minutes. Like every other episode of the Digital Archipelago, where the main subject gets. I saw that in the comment one time. Like,
yeah.
Oh, damn, they're pretty accurate.
You guys were reviewing Lane? Like, when did that happen?
When did that happen? Yeah, we did it for 45 minutes on the episode about Lane. That episode's 3 hours long.
What else did you talk about? Oh, you know, Aella, Twitter memes,
Lex Friedman.
Lex Friedman.
Ego supremacy.
Millennial love. Very trashy Hallmark movies. Oh, what else do we talk? Oh, yeah. Anime or ageism.
Actually, it's a real question. How long is the Serial Experiments Lane episode?
Oh, no, actually, it's a shorter episode. It's like an hour and a half.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Trying to find it now.
What's our longest episode?
Our longest episode is probably the episode with the Distributist. I don't remember which one that was.
Yeah, that seems like ages ago.
Because it was. It was episode 4.
Yeah.
And it was 3 hours and 54 minutes.
Whoa, we almost got to the
We almost got to the magical 4-hour mark.
Yeah.
What's the closest we've gotten since then? Would probably be episode 3, where we reviewed all of the Ryan Gosling movies, because that clocks in at 3:49.
Clocks in at 3. Yeah. That was a
we get really close. Like our show has been very close to 3 hours every time. Yeah. The internet never existed. That one is over 3 hours. Oh yeah, the Lane episode is literally only an hour and 50. That's like our shortest episode.
It's the shortest one.
Oh my goodness.
Oh man.
Don't say long form content is dead, baby, because it's here to stay.
Our
Francis E. Deck episode is also 2.5 hours.
We really went off on that one.
The premiere episode that we did on my channel 5 months ago went for 3 hours. We didn't even do super chats. We just talked about the wall for 3 hours.
Did we talk about the wall?
We stayed pretty on topic for that one.
Yeah. What was the specific? What was that one called?
The wall, the body, and the soul.
Oh, that.
We only spent of the 2 hours we spent on the Teenage Apocalypse trilogy. I guarantee you, maybe 50 minutes of that is on each movie.
Yeah, we should have done more on that one because I feel like that. You know, to me, that's the most memorable one because I remember like. In the summer, like preparing for that one, like that was I don't know that was a pretty memorable one for me.
Oh my god, when was the first episode we did? 7 months ago.
Yeah.
Holy cow! June 30th of 20. Wow,
man.
Damn.
Yeah, because that was right after I started Content Minded.
Yeah.
It's been a while. It's been almost a year.
It's been almost a year of this. Not that I'm complaining in the slightest, but wow.
We've been
Time
on a
flies.
journey. Yeah. I think we've managed to like cement a solid place in the sector too as a buddy, like tag team.
Oh yeah, I mean Jay Burden put out that poll where he's just like, "Who are your favorite?"
He annihilated.
Yeah. I was like, let's go. Not to toot our own horns here.
It's like this, yeah. It's like World Tag Leagues. We like got to the top, yeah.
Amen.
Like Bishamon last year.
Okay, so by the time that this comes out, I should have a new Substack that's out on Tuesday, and I'll probably have a video recording of that on Wednesday.
Yeah, your other Substack was pretty good about like non-anons engaging with anons.
Yeah, I originally sent that to the American Mind, and Helen let me know that it kind of got lost in the editing process over the holidays. So she's like, "If you want to publish it, you can." I was like, "Thanks." I'll probably retweet that for Monday just so I can get my more mainstream friends to do it. I need to let you read the full one I did on Paul Virilio and Spengler, because that one is where, because you remember when we were talking about on Content Minded, my episode, we were talking about like the genetic Hiroshima. Yeah, I talk about that essay in full in that one.
Nice. I wanted to buy. I think I bought Art and Fear by Virilio. That I think would be up your alley as well, because it does talk about Iraq, and like that essay is like really great. It's like
I've read of his work. I've only read Speed and Politics and The Original Accident. I know he's got his last book is The Administration of Fear, which I really want to get into, because I guarantee you that's I don't know what it has to be about Bush or something, you know. But maybe,
did you see that? Speaking of Bush, did you see that?
An interview? Okay.
Yeah. Did you see that meme with the trans woman?
No.
Where it's like you spent the 2000s focusing on Harry Potter Child's Play. I spent it working for the American War Machine, and I regret it ever since. You should move. You didn't see that? That went viral?
I didn't see that one.
Oh man, it was hilarious.
I'll look it up after the show.
Yeah, I'll send you the meme that came out of it. It was incredible. But anyways, yeah. So, as I'm sure by the time you're listening to this, I have put out a new Content Minded. Probably, I'm thinking either the Lambda one, the Luke Avery one, or I'm trying to think. Yeah, probably the Luke Avery one. That's a great one. I don't have to edit a lot because we don't swear or anything. So
even better.
We go through a number of Bible passages, and we go through Revelation, his role as a Christian on YouTube. We get into a lot of great stuff, actually. I really liked it. I enjoyed the episode.
Did he invite you on for Lamster? Yeah.
I did one, yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I did I have to.
Did you do it last year? I don't remember.
No, it was like this. It was like the beginning of the year.
Okay, cool. Good.
No, wait, it was last. Yeah.
It was last. It was the last Easter Pascatide time.
Yeah.
He's doing it again this year. He invited me on, so I look forward. I have no idea what we're going to talk about this year, but I do want it to be more.
I have to reply to him. I think he invited me for that too.
Oh, good. Say yes.
So yeah,
it's his version of Millennial, but during the Easter Pascatide.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have to respond. I totally forgot. So
yeah, you are notoriously bad at. I have people DMing me like, "Hey, can you tell Gio to answer DMs?"
Yeah, I have so many of them because I'm in so many group chats that it's like I have to get back to a lot of people. Like, for example, I have to get back to my Russian contact. No, it's not what you think. It's the guy that came on Content Minded, who works for the state media. He wants to do some stuff recently.
Gio's an FSB asset confirmed.
Yeah, I do it for free. By the way, go to my Telegram, telegram.com/GennerProductions
for more review posting.
Yeah, exactly. I actually reviewed the Wagner film that came out. I review Best Man in Hell. That is surprisingly still on YouTube. It wasn't really a war film. It was like one of those like documentary, like History Channel documentary type like reenactment things. It was pretty good though. It was pretty even-handed. That's what I said. It was like incredible how they like didn't go out of their way to like dehumanize Blue Yellow. Like it was pretty even-handed. Like that's why like, and I essentially said like that's why Russia's losing the propaganda war, because like, because like imagine it like when a Hollywood film gets made about the special military operation, it's like you just know it's gonna be like Spielberg in Saving Private Ryan. You know what I mean? Like the Russians will be portrayed as like equally brutal and dehumanized, but also cowardly. And so.
Well, it looks like Kansas City won the Super Bowl.
Whoa!
By the time you guys hear this, it's gonna happen. But
Yeah.
I was hoping for
the Eagles.
I think I said it in Patrick Casey's chat. I just made the least melanated team win. But, like I live in America. Who was I kidding?
The Kansas City. Well, they just won the Super Bowl. Of course, they're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is that fat coach that looks like he's been like fighting diabetes for all his life is gonna party it out.
Too many cookouts at the tailgate parties.
Too many times being invited to the cookout.
Yeah. Just a little taste of her flesh.
Well, apparently Elon Musk and Rupert Murdoch were in the same, like, talking to each other. So, like, Lord only knows how bad the Bird app is going to get.
Oh, that's going to be terrible. That's good.
I saw Charles Johnson on Twitter going crazy.
You know what's funny? How Charles Johnson's like he came back and like he's been allowed to have like more of a presence on Twitter with like a smaller cult following. Because I remember like when Charles Johnson was like the most vilified person by the left, by the organized left in the media. Like they like really went after him. And then Pax Dickinson, his former guy or whatever, partner, like business partner, they ran what was it called? I think it was called Before It's News or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, but they like really
had a very Chris Hedges vibe to it.
Yeah, very Chris Hedges vibe, but they like really went after both of them, especially Charles Johnson. But then the stuff he's saying is like quite like I don't know, like if it's true 100%, but
I don't know. But like if you've ever read The Israel Lobby by John J. Mearsheimer and Stephen Walt, I read his Substack and I'm like, there's a lot of credibility probably to this. How much of it is true, I don't know. But
yeah,
there's some valid justification.
Is this Substack free?
Yeah, I've read most of his articles for free.
Well, I should read up on him because he just like disappeared out of nowhere.
Because he's got some. I mean, he had a very positive take. He has a very positive position on the Biden administration, but not for the reasons I would have ever expected. Which kind of, yeah. I mean, apparently, like a lot of the internal stuff that the FBI is doing with regards to, which I mean, like I don't trust the FBI at all with regards to like here domestically.
Yeah,
but. He's talking about like trying to root out a lot of like foreign issues inside the country. And like, he's an interesting character. Like, again, it does sometimes read like the ravings of a mad schizo, but on the other hand, he does bring some receipts.
Like every
which is
Substack.
Interesting. Yeah, like every Substack. So yeah. But yeah, well, thank you all for tuning in, folks.
Yeah, this has been a great episode. We've
debased ourselves, we've bared our souls, and we still talked about a movie for about an hour.
Yeah. There you go.
Good luck with this title. It's going to be
a lot of Gemmys, a lot of cool.
That's every episode. There's for that 45 minutes of gems, you got to deal with like 2.5 hours
of cool. Yeah, of us like just talking about random. Yeah.
It's libidinal.
It's libidinal, exactly. That's been the theme of this episode. All right. God bless. Goodbye. Too sweet.
See you, gents.